here we are, and this is going to be a crazy one. You know, it's been an interesting road getting here in chat, and from, of course, the 20-win challenge, which by most accounts was the hardest 20-win challenge in the history of the game. This seems like the fewer people are able to complete it than ever. And then even through that stage 2 was a grueling battle, having to win 8 or 9 2v2s. It's been nuts.
Stages.
Yeah,
Stage
absolutely.
one
I mean,
was
it's
the no-tilt
actually
20-win
insane
winners
what they had
are
to
now
go
in
through
stage two,
in order to
the
just
qualifier
get to
bracket,
this
where
point.
we have 8
I mean,
East brackets
it's
and
insane.
8 West brackets of 1,024 players that will be streamed from semifinals to finals. The winners of stage 2 will qualify to
I was gonna
stage
let
now,
this-
are
the
you
group stage.
are you looking over
We will
the
have
East
one
versus
East
West now?
group
Where are
of
you
8
on the
players and one West group of 8 players that will battle in a single round-robin format. The 4 top players of each group will qualify to Stage 4, Playoffs, and Grand Final, where these 16 players will battle in a single elimination bracket to become the new Clash Royale champion of the world.
And that's what we're here for, the Clash Royale World Championship. So just as my co-caster was talking about the road to get here, how hard it was, you saw it. Millions of people tried, but now we're down to just 8. 4 from the East, 4 from the West. Some old faces, some new faces. Now in chat, and I saw you made a bit of a prediction last night, calling Benzer as your favorite to win this whole thing. I don't know if you're just putting the real estate there in case you got it right, and you wanted to save that to save that for posterity. Maybe you delete it if you get it wrong in the back end. But
we don't delete it. We let it rip. I have it down, and I mean, I said Benzer Ridel was going to win. I'm going to stick to that. And, you know, I stick to my guns. I'm going to say he's going to win, and I'm going to go on a bold prediction here that he's going to run the table.
It's not impossible. Benzer, of course, one of the biggest stars out of CRL East. When Andrew and I were in China with the CRL East casters, they couldn't stop talking about the quality of Benzer Ridel. On the other side, though, it's like we're talking about favorites on each side. Of course, Benzer's one favorite on the eastern side. AUK, now back with Nova Esports, another favorite, of course. On the western side, is Schwarzen the clear runaway favorite, or do you feel like the other 3 people in the west can give him a run for his money?
You know, you see, I don't know. I mean, he played absolutely amazing. Yeah, you have to give it, you know, to him. Amazing matches for him, clearing out the entire West. I mean, he pretty much went through the gauntlet and shut everybody down. Do I think he could be unstoppable in the West? Maybe, but Rich, in this finals, you have to see it's West versus East as the start. So it's not West versus West. So maybe, you know, there has been a different decks pool in the East than the West. You have seen a little bit of a deck variety in the East and the West. Maybe that might shake him up a little bit. Who knows? But do I think Schwarzen is the front runner as far as the West competitor? Possibly. I think he might be the strongest player in the West coming out, you know, for this grand final bracket today.
Of course, a lot of people in the West, huge fans of not just one American, but 2 Americans who are making their appearance in this stage. Boss, who has a massive fan base, who's very excited to see him competing at this level, and of course competing in CRL East now. And then, of course, the other American, a long-standing Expo king, airsurfer, making his way in. These 2 Americans, I mean, you have 2 very different play styles. Boss known for a lot of heavier stuff, airsurfer known for quick cycle. But with these 2 guys, do you see one as carrying the torch for this nation?
I mean, potentially, hopefully. You know, hopefully either Boss or airsurfer is able to come out and really put on a show here in the no-tilt grand finals to be a world champion. I mean, you know, when it is a single-player tournament, I know in the CCGS in 2017, the storylines were around the countries. The best player in the world, where are they going to hail from? The United States has 2 in this tournament. So hopefully, you know, they can make a showing, you know, get a win here, get a win there, you know, and at least make it to the semifinals, you know, into the final matchup. Do I think they have what it takes? You know, Rich, only time will tell. I'm hoping personally, as an American, that they do. But, you know, anything can happen. I mean, right now we're seeing Boss versus Aurora in game number 1. This is going to be a tough matchup for Boss right off the bat, as Aurora is one of the best in the world.
AUK has been phenomenal. A big part of that Nova Esports Clash Royale League World Championship back in 2018. And then you add into that the run he went on, leaving Nova Esports for a while, now back in purple. And he's certainly one of the hardest outs and has been a front runner over on the eastern side of it. Boss, though, has been growing and growing as a player for a very long time, as we mentioned before, finally in CRL East. And this could be one of those big watershed moments. A good signature win, a good finish here or two could go a long way to growing the legacy of a player who already has a huge fan base.
Yeah, absolutely. As we get all up into the matchup right now, 15 seconds have been going on. And, you know, Aurora with the Musketeer here, Boss throwing down. Ooh, triple Muskies coming out from Boss in game number 1. How do you feel about triple Muskies, Rich?
Well, they seem like they're back in a reasonably okay place now compared to where they were before, after the big nerf that basically killed the card for about a year and change. And right now, primarily, of course, in the 3M Royal Hogs deck. And you gotta wonder how much of that is because of that little tennis ball. Shout out to all the Sir Tag fans there. The Heal Spirit seems like it's really given the Three Musketeers a big boost as of late.
Yeah, absolutely. Three Musketeers, one of the best cards in the game now, as we have Boss putting double lane pressure here, getting a lot of damage on the left and the right-hand side. And, I mean, it's looking pretty good for the American to start out this match.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this not quite precise mirror match between these two plays out. And right now you can see Boss doing a pretty good job with the dual lane pressure early. Of course, both of these decks doing some of that. Of course, it'd be interesting seeing Aurora AUK going with the single Musk rather than the 3M Royal Hog combination.
Yeah, and Boss with a Hunter in the back here. So, you know, Boss running the triple Muskies, you know, Royal Hog, Heal Spirit deck. Like you were mentioning earlier, the Heal Spirit is the MVP of this deck. And I feel like the Heal Spirit right now, in my opinion, might be the best card in the game. What do you think about that?
You might not be wrong. Heal Spirit pretty much is a meta definer at the moment. All the major decks, and we're going to see a whole lot of it today. All the major decks dominating the meta, including that Royal Giant Fisherman Hunter deck, are Heal Spirit features. So yeah, I mean, I won't be surprised if in the next balance update we see it get a bit of a nerf hammer, but you know, they might let it ride out one more season.
Absolutely, as we have another Royal Hog push here from AUK on the right-hand side, but a Fireball Bar Barrel is going to clear that out. Boss still ahead by about 300 damage in this matchup.
Well, the longer this one goes, of course, the better it's going to be for Boss in a lot of different ways. Of course, the Mega Knight, huge for AUK, having both the Mega Knight and the Fireball on defense. And you can see going for the King Tower activation version on the Three Musketeers. And yeah, feels like AUK on the defensive side at least has a better situation as we go deeper into the game.
Yeah, absolutely. As the game slowly gets into sudden death, 13 seconds remaining in single elixir time. Another Fireball here, kind of have to. That's what happens when you have Three Musketeers and you play behind their King Tower. The only real way to get value from your Fireball is to activate the King Tower as well. So let's see if that costs AUK in the long run.
So sudden death with the last 2 minutes triple elixir on its way fairly soon. You know, the convention of wisdom is Three Musketeers gets pretty strong there in those last couple of minutes, but you know, I have to be concerned here in Chan when it comes to Boss with the Mega Knight and big Mega Knight pushes going into that double side. If he doesn't have to, using the Fireball, the ability to counter push here is going to be huge for AUK.
Yeah, absolutely. As the Skeleton Dragons on the left-hand side getting some damage. Three Musketeers, are they going to get Fireball? There they are. And Boss just, he can't get any value with these Three Musketeers. If you have to keep on playing Three Musketeers and they keep on getting Fireball, it's in essence losing so much elixir every single time he plays them. He's got to somehow outcycle AUK's Fireball if he wants a chance to win this game in triple elixir time.
Well, that's the big thing here for AUK in terms of the matchup, is having both the Mega Knight and the Fireball. He's not as worried about those Royal Hogs, so he can freely Fireball the Three Musketeers and not worry about a Royal Hogs push. We'll see a Mega Knight drop on the left-hand side. That's going to be the exact rhythm here for AUK. Now it's just about making sure he can get some counter lane pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. Hunter just clearing down each and every single Skeleton Dragon. 35 seconds remain in this matchup. It's going to be who gets that last connection on a tower. Rohog's on the right-hand side for Boss with a Heal Spirit. This could be the play the Boss needs on the right-hand side.
Big pressure.
Gonna have to defend. The Blitz on the left-hand side, 12:35. Boss could fireball his way to victory here. And it looks like Boss is going to take game number 1.
Yeah, a little surprised that... I mean, here's the smart play by Boss, is not giving AUK Mega Knight value early. And that you saw a lot of that Three Musketeer play in front of and behind King Tower, making sure the fireballs were going to King Tower, not going to tower damage. So you talk about the way that the Boss managed that game and managed the situation, holding off on those Royal Hogs, playing a Three Musketeer game, forcing the defense to be against the Three Musketeers rather than against the Pigs, and not giving a counter push to a Mega Knight until he absolutely had to late in the game. Very, very smart play here by Boss.
Yeah, absolutely. As he's going to pick up game 1. As you can see, a little bit of elixir leaked here for AUK. 6.5 maybe had a little bit of a questionable moment there as Boss kept on throwing out the Royal Hogs, had to wait over and over again for his Mega Knight to fall. And that's the thing, when you're playing a Mega Knight versus Royal Hogs, you got to wait for the perfect opportunity to drop that onto the arena.
Stats provided by Stats Royale. If you haven't yet figured out what your next chest is going to be, go to statsroyale.com. They've cracked the code. They'll tell you if it's going to be a silver chest, epic chest, legendary. It's probably a legendary chest. If you take the stats there and chatting, it's almost always going to be a legendary chest. That's what I've been told.
I mean, it always has to be. Come on now, Rich. All right, I have you muted. What are you at the time left in the game? I'll adjust to
230. 228, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, and 21, 20.
All right, I'm at 13.
12, 11. Good. Sweet. Let's do this.
Perfect.
So this is what everyone who's a Boss fan wanted to see here in chat, and it's Boss running Goblin Giant Sparky. If there's, we saw Sparky banned against Boss the other day in No Tilt, in the Western Stage 3, and now we get to see Boss run maybe what he's best known for here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Sparky on the right-hand side. Is he going to be able to connect to the tower? Rich with the...
That rage can be so frustrating, on both ends, right? On the defensive side, you're like, that rage just made a shot happen I didn't want to see. And on the offensive side, you're like, if it was just a little bit more angry, I would have got that shot off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was like a 0.2 seconds away from crushing AUK's right-hand side tower. And that's the thing with Sparky. All you need is one. You know, it's kind of one of those things where it's just all you need is one connection in order to win a game. And Boss is looking for that on this right-hand side. I mean, he's got, I would say, Goblin Giant Sparky has a pretty good matchup versus Mortar.
Yeah, what
do you say about that, Rich?
I mean, look, the not having a spell to reset and the swarms do help for AUK to a certain degree, but the question is how does Aurora get down to the other side? And the zap is going to make that skeleton barrel pretty much just drop damage, and it's going to be hard to get the mortar on tower at all. So, going to be a challenge here for AUK in game number 2 to actually create any damage.
It looks like we're going to be working really on the right-hand side here with the counterattack. It's going to be 12:55 versus 11:07. Boss has a little bit of a lead in this matchup. The swarmy troops, though, are going to keep on shutting down the Sparky, but if one little mistake from AUK is played in this matchup, Boss can easily just win it right there.
Yeah, and the swarmy troops do help with that really frustrating mini P.E.K.K.A. Rage combination as well, which is a big part of this deck. But there you see the Dark Prince just kind of getting rid of those, and this could be a significant chunk here if that connects on the left-hand side. Barely dies right before getting that left-hand connection.
Yeah, he just has to keep on playing swarmy troops to shut down everything. Boss is only zapping the skeleton barrel, nothing else on the left-hand side here, but AUK has a little bit of a damage lead. Boss needs to get a little bit of a connection onto the tower. He doesn't have any big spell. AUK can fireball cycle him out if Boss doesn't really get any advantage, you know, coming in the next, I would say, 25, 30 seconds.
Yeah, this is going to get really interesting. This is where this deck gets in trouble, is where you can't actually get some direct tower damage, and you don't have that one huge connection that you need. Zap will work on the left-hand side. A little bit of damage there, of course, from the drop on the barrel. Final minute approaching, triple elixir. Can the American regain control of this one, or is Aurora, a.k.a. AUK? A lot of letters there. Going to hold on and take this one.
We're going to find out really soon. This is the last pretty much Sparky push that Boss can really play, if he can even get one down. I think AUK is going to continue to hard cycle, so Boss is never going to be able to put down another Sparky on the field.
Well, this
He's
is
going to put it all the way in the back.
Well, we are seeing, while a lot of people say that this deck from Boss is actually a single elixir deck rather than a triple elixir deck. When the opponent has the ability to put continuous damage on tower and you don't, this triple elixir period isn't actually that beneficial. They can continually drop stuff in front of the Sparky. And this is one of those decks that if you don't win in single, especially against something that cycles the way that AUK's deck does, it can turn into an absolute nightmare.
But the Dark Prince is though rich. He might be able to get to the tower here on the right-hand side. Is it going to be one more shot?
Oh my gosh, 695 to 534, final 10 seconds. Dark Prince on the left-hand side.
44, the Dark Prince.
Oh my word, Fireball's not going to be enough. Doesn't matter. Dark Prince on the right-hand side, and Boss is able to break through at the end. Unbelievable.
Boss got so much value from the Dark Prince. Let's just call him the cleaner in this matchup. Kept on clearing out goblins. It's going to turn green with how many goblins it just drank on that last push. AUK, unfortunately, just kept placing goblins, and they kept getting absolutely mauled by the Dark Prince. And Boss is going to pick up this huge victory, and now going up 2-0 versus Aurora.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge going up 2-0 in this game. You know, a lot of people are picking AUK, a lot of people are picking Aurora in this one. Of course, the Boss fans wouldn't believe it for a half second. And you got to be a little bit surprised here that, you know, I'm wondering if, given the bans, there was no chance here for Aurora to go for a really hard snipe against Boss at some point, expecting to be against this deck.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this deck, Aurora pretty much had the game under control. Just, I think the turning point in this match was when the Dark Prince turned around, moved all the way to the Spear Goblins from the left-hand side, and then went behind the Goblin Giant instead of in front of it, allowing Boss to get his cycle better, and then just continually be able to flood AUK at the end there, not allowing AUK to fireball Boss's tower, and just was able to slowly chip him down for that victory.
Here to answer some questions from the chat, Jakob asking, why did Boss advance with -4 games and Mini Minter had -1? Because the first tiebreaker was head-to-head matchup, and Boss beat Mini Minter. So that is why Boss went on to the next level. Hey guys, will you read the chat today? Yeah, guys, I'll read the chat every once in a while and throw some questions to my co-caster in chatting. There you go. Absolutely. That answers your question.
We always read the chat. Have you been watching the No Tilt World Championship?
That's all we do. It's been very chat heavy.
Yeah, but now it is the grand finals, so the chat won't be as heavy as it was, but you know, still be reading it.
And Boss again going Goblin Giant Sparky, and maybe looking like AUK Aurora might have had that kind of red this time around.
Yeah, just a little bit here. It was Sparky on the right-hand side with a Goblin Giant. Once again, going to be running the same deck, and that's the advantage that you have. If you're up 2-0 in a matchup, you can do whatever you want. Sparky on the right-hand side. Now, Rich, this is a problem.
Oh, the Barb Hut does not spawn Barbs in the right timing. And that those Barbs, if they'd come out a little split second earlier, would have gone into that lane towards the Goblin Giant and would have pulled the Sparky, but the timing there just completely off, and that Sparky shreds the right-hand side, and now it's AUK who has to play a little bit of a catch-up game here.
Absolutely. having to play a catch-up game is not something you ever really want to do too much of, especially versus Sparky deck. He is going to take the right-hand side tower, but this is Boss's push right here. With this Sparky Goblin Giant, he's got to start pressuring real hard on this left-hand side if he wants to really win this matchup.
Well, this deck from Aurora definitely loses some of its pop when it goes into a single-lane game, and you see that right here. Kaboom!
There it is. There's the tower on the left-hand side that Boss needed. Now all he needs to do is defend. It's going to look like Boss might be able to move on here by 3-0ing AUK. A pretty surprise. Maybe not so much of a surprise that he would win, but definitely a surprise that this was a clean sweep.
Yeah, I mean, this was an absolute blowout. Other than game number 2 where they made it very, very close, this was a shellacking on the part of Boss, and great win for the American, and Nova Esports better watch out if Boss plays like this against AUK when they meet up in the East.
Yeah, great play right there from Boss, and he's going to be moving on now to the semi-finals in the No Tilt World Championship. We have the American Boss moving on with a dominating performance. I mean, if he plays like this for the rest of the day, it's going to be hard for the competition to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly played very well, and just a little bit surprised here by some of the choices out of AUK. The Royal Giant ban was an interesting choice out of Aurora. Kind of surprised to see that one come here. I know that he was playing the Royal Giant pretty consistently over on the other side of the bracket, and then yeah, just a couple of choices here when it came to matchup against Boss, maybe a little bit surprising.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say anything besides a little bit surprising. I mean, AUK, one of the best players, from China in the East. I mean, he put up I guess you could say a mediocre fight here. I mean, there's really nowhere else to say about that. Boss just played absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the decks, he was going to play Giant Sparky at some point, got up 2-0, and then played it again back-to-back. It's kind of hard, especially when, the favorite deck of a player is able to win twice in a best-of-5. That usually never happens. They're usually able to get their favorite deck off maybe once in a best-of-5, if that. But Boss was able to play it back-to-back times there, and that just alludes to the fact that a 1-0 or a 2-0 in a best-of-5 when the stage is this this high, anything can happen, and that's why it's very important to get off to a good start, and that's exactly what Boss did here today.
Well, I mean, the performance, we're seeing some of the replay action here. The performance in that first game was actually some of the best performance that Boss put on throughout this best-of-5. The choice, we talk a lot about micro when we talk about the skill sets of players, the management of specific interactions, but understanding the macro, understanding really how you need to run a matchup overall, really, really critical for success in a game like that one. And the way that he built it, where he was continuously bringing the Three Musketeers, baiting the Fireball, essentially kind of taking advantage of the Fireball bait aspect of that 3M Royal Hogs deck, and making sure the Fireball was always going in that direction and not giving an excuse, an opportunity to play the Mega Knight in the earlier portion of the game where he might fall to a huge counter push. Brilliant play by Boss, and that kind of set the tone for the entire match.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Boss just played this amazing every single game. I feel like game 2 was the decider. He was able to win that. He was able to sneak that victory in there where maybe AUK had an opportunity where he was going to be able to win that, get back on it 1-1. That changes everything, because if it's 1-1 now, Boss probably doesn't come back out with that Goblin Giant Sparky deck, and it's a completely different matchup. But Boss able to pick up game 2, and that's the difference. When you're when the stage is this high, one little mistake, one little error, one little misplay could cost you an entire tournament. And I mean, that's kind of what we saw here from AUK. That game 2, that drop there allowed Boss to pretty much say, all right, it's game 3, it's 2-0. I'm just going to go with my most comfortable deck. I don't care what he's running. I'm going to run with the deck that I have played the most of, and I'm just going to run it down and see what happens. And you know what? It worked out for him in game 3.
Well, the big question now is how much more does Boss go back to that well? He's gone through the Goblin Giant Sparky Rage deck twice already. Do we see him go to it again in the semifinals, and if he makes it there, the finals? Or at this point, does he go, man, I can't go back to the well one more time?
You know what? I honestly think he's going to run it at least one more time.
Well, we'll see. We'll be back very soon with our next round of the No Tilt World Championship.
See you guys soon. do very well versus Mortar. So, you know, he very well may switch to that at least one game in this matchup. But it looks like we are going to be running a minor Loon for Airsurfer in game 1.
Interesting. We haven't seen a whole lot of minor Loon comparatively. Of course, minor Musk Loon was dominant in the meta for a long time, especially running into the last few months. It was very popular, the bomb tower version. And of course, lately it's been the 6 Loon. The 6-man or Royal Recruits mixed with the Balloon has been the more popular of the Balloon cycle decks. So Airsurfer going with a little bit of old, a little bit of new.
Yeah, absolutely. As Airsurfer just slowly trying to chip away here. Benzer Ridel just trying to get, you know, value with this Gob Cage, especially versus a Balloon. If you're able to get this Goblin Cage on the counterattack with the Balloon.
Yeah, I mean, he does have a couple different take options for Airsurfer between the Cage and the Miner. 2 different ways to go ahead and tank for the Balloons. That gives you some versatility. Of course, here I'm not going to be, obviously not going to be running the Fisherman Hunter variation of Royal Giant with the Fisherman being banned, but still does not mean that the Royal Giant Heal Spirit cycle won't be popular.
Yeah, I believe, I don't know if it was Benzer Ridel who used this. It was either yesterday or the day before. You know, they banned the Fisherman, and RG was played 3 times. You know, with these interesting decks. The Balloon connects on the right-hand side. Oof, Rich, you can't afford another one of those.
Yeah, that's a pretty big chunk. Although one of the interesting things here for Airsurfer is that when it comes to defending against the Royal Giant, he's getting his cage down less for defense and more for counter pushing, for counter pressure. So we'll see if this is the opportunity here for Benzer to put some pressure on the right-hand side. And here we go, Royal Giant in cage low here. Let's see if he can get on tower. 299 on the right-hand side, fireball in, and Airsurfer gets all the way back to his second cage.
RG not going to be able to get any damage onto the tower here. 299 remains. Arrows come out.
And that's going to be a good game. Benzer knows it. Airsurfer can get back to either the zap or the arrows here fairly quickly. Here comes the zap. GG, well played. USA 4-0 so far in this competition here in Enchanted.
Yeah, no, playing absolutely amazing gameplay, and that's what we see here. This RG deck, I mean, I feel like the RG is a strong card, but without the Fisherman, without the Hunter combination with it, it just falls off just a little bit. The big portion of the Fisherman combo with the Hunter is the pull to the Hunter, where the Hunter just eliminates everything as the RG is able to connect to the tower. And I know a lot of these players are trying to force this RG in, you know, especially when the Fisherman is banned. But, you know, it hasn't been working out for them lately. And Airsurfer in the USA, you know, playing very, very strong here in the first 4 matchups of the No Tilt World Championship Grand Finals.
Well, we're almost seeing sort of a repeat of what was happening with Royal Giant in the spring season of CRL West back in 2019. Where everyone was so comfortable with the RG Furnace decks, right? Whether it was the Lumberjack version, the Guards version, but that RG Furnace deck was such a popular comfort deck from dominating ladder, and players kept trying to force it in during their head-to-head play in CRL, and it had, I think, a sub 30% win rate over the course of that season. Right, so you see here, we have this RG Fisherman Hunter deck that is dominating top ladder. Go open up your app, look at top ladder right now, and tell me how many of those decks are RG Fisherman Hunter. So players are comfortable playing RG Cycle right now and trying to make it happen even without the Fisherman being involved. And as you can see, Royal Giant overall is not super strong except in this particular construction.
Yeah, you are not wrong there, as, you know, RG really benefits from the Fisherman Hunter combo. Good ban there from Airsurfer. As I think right now, you know, RG Fisherman Hunter is probably one of the best decks in the game in competitive play when it's not banned.
Yeah, it's so nasty. Between the crowd control aspects that you get from the Fisherman and Hunter, and then adding in the ability to win bridge battles with the Heal Spirit, and people are going either with this is gonna be Hog triple spell, it looks like, out of Airsurfer. Interesting going with the Fireball rather than the Snowball here. Usually this runs 2 small spells with the Earthquake rather than small big.
Yeah, definitely probably going to be to his advantage, as well, as we have a Hog versus a Hog matchup here. And he's got the Fireball versus the Snowball. of Benzer Ridel could be the answer. If it gets a triple elixir time and he's able to defend, I mean, that fireball is just going to do more damage in triple elixir time than the snowball will be able to.
Yeah, that's a very, I mean, you're seeing Benzer running the popular variation of this deck, and then airsurfer running the upgrade to fireball from snowball.
If you are airsurfer here, you just have to pray you do not take that much damage and go to a spell cycle. You want to get it into a spell cycle triple elixir matchup, because that's where you are 100% going to win. If the towers are even with a minute left in this matchup, I don't see a way airsurfer loses that.
Yeah, that's going to be real challenging. Benzer needs to focus on controlling hog shots here, right? He has the snowball. He has a little bit faster cycle. He should be able to defend better at this stage in combination than airsurfer will, just being a half step behind. Can he out-cycle before we get to triple? And that's the big question.
Yeah, I think he's going to need 2 more hog shots than airsurfer is before. Ooh, and you see every hog shot that airsurfer gets is just 1 more. Ooh, this is not good, Rich.
Yeah, Benzer in a rough spot, of course, does throw the musketeer to the right-hand lane, but that's easily dealt with by just 1 elixir. So Benzer falling more and more behind here as time goes on, and it's airsurfer who's got his cycle exactly the way that he wants it and putting Benzer on the back foot as we go towards sudden death overtime.
1,046 life on Benzer Ridel's left-hand side tower. He needs to start getting these hogs connecting to the left-hand side tower. Like, there needs to be snowballs. There needs to be something. There needs to be at least 1 connection here, 1 connection there. Because if airsurfer connects 1 more time with a hog, I think this one's over.
Yeah, and then airsurfer just has the defensive side of it locked down. I mean, that's the big part about having your cycle exactly constructed the way that you want it, is that airsurfer is never sitting there waiting for the card he needs at the moment that he needs it. And fireball just completely wrecks that push. Not even a single shot get in. Snowball damage is going to be a poor substitution for a hog shot.
Yeah, the snowball came in way too late there as the hog once again pushing on the right-hand side, but airsurfer does not.
Oh, boy.
Oh, Musketeer ends the game on the left-hand side. And that's what you were saying. When you have the perfect cycle, airsurfer did not care if that hog rider ever connected with the tower. He knew exactly he had the perfect cards for defense. He knew he had the earthquakes that were slowly going to chip Benzer Ridel down, and he knew he had the fireball cycle if it ever came to triple elixir. Airsurfer just had the perfect cycle that you were saying right there, Rich, where he just didn't really even need to think. He knew exactly what he was doing at all moments of that game, and Benzer Ridel was just on his back foot, it looked like, the entire matchup.
Yeah, that was brutal. It was really brutal for the Musketeer that was never really able to stay on the board for for Benzer in any meaningful way, right? For any meaningful way at all. You know, the one time we saw a Musketeer with any reasonable health get close to doing any tower damage, it was handled easily by 1 elixir skeleton. So right now, the West up 5-0 so far in this event. And I can see some people over in the chat talking about Trainer Dippets doing his work. And, of course, a lot of people know that Dip is a part of Misfits Gaming overall and works closely with airsurfer on deck choices and preparing for some of these matches. And, yeah, good call here getting the fireball in, and airsurfer played it beautifully.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the first fireball that airsurfer threw in this game really shut down Benzer Ridel, put airsurfer in a perfect cycle, and Benzer kind of just never was able to really recover from that, get into the cycle that he wanted. Never did we see a perfect hog rider snowball push with an earthquake as well to get a hog rider connection on the tower there from Benzer, and airsurfer just completely controlled that matchup from start to finish.
Benzer Ridel's been a top-tier player for a very long time, 8.3K, 8303. Personal best on ladder, and both these guys longtime CRL veterans. Benzer Ridel has been with Chaos Theory for a number of years before moving to Kicks. Ended up taking 2nd in the Southeast Asia region and 3rd overall in CRL Asia back in 2019. And now with Kicks team, this squad looks really good, and Benzer's a huge part of it.
Absolutely, as the Goblin Brawler. He is going to be airsurfer's choice of building here versus a Tombstone. I have not seen a Tombstone in... Have I seen a Tombstone in Stage 3? Have you, Rich?
Pretty much in Lava, and I was about to say, it's basically Tombstone's a Lava Hound card at this stage, and As soon as you ask about the tombstone, boom, there comes Lava Hound early here from Benzer as the first minute ends.
Yeah, he's going to have a good pull here on to the Giant. Favorable matchup here for Benzer Ridel. Lava Hound usually is able to take care of Giant if he gets a good connection. But, oh, the bats on the left-hand side here, and a zap. An airsurfer is going to defend this push very nicely. I wonder what airsurfer's last card is, because if it's not another anti-air card, it's not going to be a fun matchup for him.
Well, I mean, Giant Night Witch often goes with minor. You know, you see 2 small spells, so it feels like it's going to be something in the troop range. But you know, it could also be running like a graveyard with 2 small spells, so the log would be a weird one here. Typically, you see Giant Graveyard these days with arrows as opposed to poison.
The Giant is just going to get shut down here. Is it going to be able to connect? Yes, 1 shot onto the tower. Aggressive balloon here from Benzer Ridel.
Yeah, it's feeling like graveyard at this stage from airsurfer. Could be wrong, but the way he's ignoring the balloon here is getting ready for the push.
Wow, the balloon does
not that is minor. It was Giant minor.
Yeah, no, Giant minor here for airsurfer. Going to be able to connect and down the tower.
And someone pointed out Graveyard is banned. I'm like, yeah, that's not Giant Graveyard because Graveyard's banned. So the first instinct, Giant Night Witch usually goes with minor. The number of times I'm just like, oh yes, that is the ban card.
Yep, Lava Hound is going to take out this left-hand side tower by itself. Got to defend the Giant here on the right. This is a huge push for airsurfer because he knows that this might be his, I wouldn't say the last Giant push, but this is going to be the one where he's going to get the most damage on the right-hand lane.
That's a pretty significant chunk. That was a nice log to make some room. 1592 to 2268, and he's not super concerned with that first Lava Hound. The second Lava Hound, though, this is going to get interesting. And notice that the Lava Hound is tanking for the pups right now, so Bats doing their best to hold on, but this is a rough push coming in for airsurfer to handle.
Yeah, Balloon is going to be going for the Crown Tower, not for the King here. Not exactly what Benzer Ridel wanted, but a good tombstone is going to take that Giant on a journey to the King Tower. Benzer Ridel looking pretty good right now. Lava Hound is played there because if you put it in the corner, it could have gotten taken to the left-hand side by the Goblin Cage. And airsurfer in a little trouble here.
Night Witch and Bats together, so a big bevy of little biters for airsurfer. So far, not holding on in these final moments, though. 650. We'll see if he can get one more good shot in. He might just Giant pocket and then minor to the opposite side here.
There's going to be a lot of damage with the Bats.
There we go. There goes the Giant in the pocket. Minor does go to the back. Giant's taking for the minor. That's going to be a huge chunk of damage. Poison in offensively. Airsurfer needs to play a bit more defense here and deal with this balloon push coming in and get minor down one more time.
Yeah, minor needs to come down here, or fireball log, or poison log if he's able to do it. Log coming in.
Oh.
32 life, fireball.
It doesn't hit. Will the poison tick in time? The poison ticks just in time. Airsurfer takes that one by a hair. GG, well played. 3-0 sweep. The West dominating here in the first 2 quarterfinals.
Yeah, very well played there from airsurfer as he was just able to get that last poison tick in time. And it comes down to that one push where the log cleared out the barbarians there of Benzer Ridel. The Giant got that last shot off, and you know, that one last push that he had with full force just did enough damage. I mean, that's just what it was, Rich. He had the push. He knew he had the push coming out, you know, and he got the tower down to, what was it, 1,500 in that one push, and was able to jump the minor in there, get a little bit of chip here, a little bit of chip there with the poison, and just chip out Benzer Ridel before he was able to clear out airsurfer's right-hand side tower.
Well, it was the second to last push, the Giant in the pocket, minor in the back, that really put airsurfer back in the driver's seat there. The minor being completely tanked for, getting pretty much as much damage as it wanted on that back end. Absolutely huge for him. And of course, the Bats alongside, despite being nerfed, the Bats alongside the Night Witch were pretty huge. So there you go. It's going to be the big win for airsurfer at this next stage. And man, now we're going to have an All-American semifinal over on that side of the board.
Yeah, absolutely. As we now look at the replay here. So pretty much, Rich, what that really means, Rich, is that we are going to have an American in the grand final.
West OP right now. We'll see if the other side of the bracket can do a little better here for the eastern side of the No Tilt World Championship. And this was that second match where, again, once the Fireball version matched up against the classic version or the standard version of Hog Triple Spell. And this one was one of those games where it really felt like airsurfer overall had taken control of the match, a big swing match. And then this early tower down, this was absolutely huge for airsurfer. Massive, massive damage to open up the game. And Benzer now playing from behind completely opened it up for the American.
Yeah, absolutely. And him being able to push through this with Giant Night Witch Miner versus a Tombstone Barbarian combination from Benzer Ridel. No small feat here from airsurfer being able to push through and win this game.
Well, generally the poison value for airsurfer, and look at how just darn close this is, right? That bomb just wants to go off so bad, and it just won't do it. So there you have airsurfer hanging on for the clean sweep. 6-0 for the West so far, chat. And this is this at all what you expected? I mean, I guess not, because the guy that you called as being the all winner of this thing takes a rough 1-2-3 L here in the open against airsurfer.
Yeah, I mean, the West is just showing up to play, and I mean, it comes down to the coaching at this point. I mean, the deck choices are just flawless. Game 2 right there, airsurfer running the fireball instead of the snowball, pretty much had that game under control in game 2. I mean, that's just the deck selection that's going to give him that victory. And then game 3, though, I mean, I would say possibly, Benzer Ridel had a little bit of an advantage on the match, on the deck selection there, but airsurfer was able to get that early push, take down the left-hand side tower, didn't need to worry about that, and just got the miner chip damage off over and over again on the right-hand lane, was able to win. And I mean, would I have expected the West to come out 6-0? I don't think. If you asked a million people, they would have maybe 1%, maybe 0.1% would have said it would have been 2-3-0 clean sweeps. Like maybe they may have won, but clean sweeps, Rich, in the top 8 of a championship where they had to go through how many people? What, probably 10 million people probably played this tournament. So many people.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy at this stage to go through it like that. Of course, some people in the chat talking about maybe surprising or unsurprising America performing this way. Of course, 2020 has been a great year for USA overall in Clash Royale. Much maligned. I talked about this quite a bit. Much maligned in 2019 were the American players. But between a great performance in No Tilt Worlds, 6 of the 8 players in the final for for the Clash Royale League West between Space Station Gaming and Misfits. 6 of those 8 players, Americans. Of course, the performance of RF so far this year. Boss now doing great. airsurfer doing great. It seems like 2020 might be the year for American Clash Royale esports.
Well, I mean, right now you're looking at an American that's going to be in the grand finals of the No Tilt World Championship, whether it be Boss or whether it be airsurfer. One of them is going to make it there. That's just how the bracket is shaped out. I mean, I could say that definitively that an American will be in the grand finals. And then, on the right-hand side, the East has got to start, stepping up the game, because right now it just looks like the West is in control.
We'll be back with our next match in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere. More of the No Tilt World Championship coming at you in a couple of minutes.
And we are back with the No Tilt World Championship. Stage 4, the Americans drawing first blood. Both of them 3-0 in their first matches. West taking pretty much control of this tournament. Rich, do you think the East is going to be coming back here on the right side of this bracket?
They certainly have a chance, but I think the right side of this bracket is even harder for the East than the West side in some ways, because the guy who's probably the hardest man to beat right now out of the West, Schwarzen, who will probably be getting a CRL West contract if most people are paying attention, up against Russia's Paradox, who's a very, very talented player, very fine player, beat Jupiter King to get in here in that final day of the round robin play in Stage 3. And I've seen Paradox before the No Tilt World Championship. He's a good player. I think Schwarzen is one of those guys who's at a different level, so it's going to be very hard for the East to get past them, especially in this particular matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have Schwarzen, though, performing, just like you said, amazingly all throughout the West. Hailing from Germany, is going to be coming out here as the next competitor for the West side. West so far dominating in the No Tilt World Championship, but Paradox coming out strong. So yesterday in the East, we saw Paradox versus Jupiter King, which was the game that was going to decide who was going to advance to the No Tilt World Championship Stage 4. If Jupiter King won, he would have finished in second place in the East, but he lost to Paradox there. Paradox actually clean swept him 3-0 to get here today. So let's see if Paradox can make something happen after taking down, I would say a Goliath in the CRL, after he's been playing phenomenally.
Yeah.
In this Stage 3.
Jupiter King, one of the young players who's people are most excited about. The South Korean now with Tribe Gaming in the West, and Paradox got a big win there, and Paradox was not one of the people that was being picked to move on from this stage, from Stage 3 into this final stage. So already outperformed expectations. Certainly a fine player overall, 8.3K personal best, I believe, for Paradox. Definitely above an 8K player. And he has some competitive experience. It just doesn't feel like he's got the same level of experience and same level of play that Schwarzen's been showcasing over the last couple of months.
Well, we're going to find out right now as Paradox takes a lot of damage off on the left-hand side here. A lot of damage already coming off of Schwarzen's left-hand side tower. Ram Rider Bar Putt coming out here for Paradox. Graveyard and Musketeer are banned in this matchup. So do you think we're going to see a lot of Lava Hound today? I mean, in Stage 3, we didn't see too much. I mean, we have seen a little bit of Lava Hound, but I feel like today we've already seen it, was this the third time we've seen a Lava Hound today?
Yeah, I think metas are day-to-day fluid like that. These players are certainly watching each other's matches and taking a look at stuff and going, hey, I think that maybe this works. No, I see this person doing this. Maybe I'll try that out. So you'll see from day to day where, while there might be an overall meta for a game, there's almost a daily meta when it comes to competitive play.
You're not wrong is that, and especially during these championships, a lot of the tournaments, that we're casting, we see the fluctuation happen just in the tournament itself, not even day to day, but game to game, matchup to matchup, as these players, are constantly scouting. And when you're at the top, you can almost play any deck. And that's, the beauty of watching a pro player, versus, somebody who, might be a top ladder player, the one-trick ponies. The one-trick ponies rarely get to this stage this far up in a tournament.
Yeah, it's interesting. You see some people who are known as one-tricks able to adapt, of course, and there's a lot of thought from a competitive standpoint that you'd rather take a one-trick and teach them how to play more decks than take someone who's versatile and try to turn them into a master. There's sort of a debate there in how you do that from a coaching perspective. But yeah, you have to have a certain amount of versatility. It's hard. It's certainly, you might be able to get to a certain stage by one-tricking, but you have to at least expand your base in some way if you're going to have success at this level.
Yeah, and we saw in the East, we saw Dimas pretty much, he ran Mega Knight down everybody's throats. One of the best players, finished, 3 times top 1 in the world in global tournaments. But what happened was people just started banning his cards, and you saw he did not perform very well when that happened. And that's the one thing, about when you ban cards come in, You know, you could be a one trick, but you got to be able to play at least 2 to 3 decks. Maybe even, I would say, 4 decks very greatly. As the Ram Rider takes this tower down to 190 in order to be here right now.
Yeah, this has been a rough matchup for Schwarzen top to bottom. Fireball been an absolute nightmare. You know, he has Fireball bait built into the deck, lots of targets for the Fireball, but so far, Paradox has been able to avoid having to use it in situations where he didn't really want to, and in particular made it almost impossible for Schwarzen to play any sort of defense against the Ram Rider. The barbs have been almost a non-factor in this game.
Yeah, this isn't over yet, though. Paradox cannot take out Schwarzen with spells. 2 fireballs need to happen. 1 more fireball needs to be cycled here. Schwarzen has about, I would say, 7 seconds left to win this matchup. But with triple elixir time, the spells fly.
Yeah, there you go. Fireball will be coming in 1 more card, and that's going to be a GG well played. Paradox takes game number 1.
And that's the thing now with the triple elixir time in Clash Royale. It's you get the tower low enough and you just defend, get to triple elixir time, throw out your spell. If you're 2 spells away, you throw it out, you throw everything you possibly can just on the board, and then you get cycled back to your big spell. Paradox taking game 1 here, finally, for the East.
Yeah, East finally on the board, and again, that Fireball was a huge part of it. Schwarzen had the bait aspects in there, but was never able to take advantage of it, and the rest of this deck, you know, going with the Archers and the Dark Goblin and the Skeleton Dragons all collectively able to really shut down the rest of this and give Paradox the ability to make choices as he wanted to throughout this one.
Yeah, absolutely. As the Ram Rider combination here from Paradox. We didn't really see too many Ram Riders. I believe this is the first time we've really seen this deck from Paradox in the No Tilt World Championship. So, you know, coming out with some new decks here in Stage 4. I mean, that's definitely how you catch your opponents off guard. And that's the thing. If you're able to play decks, you know, that you normally never do, or you've played 15, 20 games, you know, prior, you know, in competitive play without playing it, it definitely catches your opponent off guard. But let's see what's going to come out in game number 2. I want to see a Lava Hound from Paradox. That's what I want to see.
We'll see what Paradox brings out. And for those of you watching, don't forget to subscribe to the No Tilt YouTube page. Hit subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. This is not the end of No Tilt's Clash Royale content. Of course, already brought you the No Tilt Worlds, No Tilt League Special Edition, and now the No Tilt World Championships. No Tilt League Season 2 will be back this fall, so of course subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and as long as you're subscribing, go ahead, take that link in the chat as well, subscribe to my channel. I'll be giving away a Clash Royale prize box with plushie, stickers, pins, all the stuff you can't get anywhere to one of my subscribers later today during the broadcast.
I believe there's a little baby dragon plush in there.
There typically is.
I got 2 of them. People yell at me all the time for that.
I have one.
I'm actually putting them away, believe it or not. If somebody correctly predicted the entire bracket, I don't think anybody already. I think everybody's already out. But
yeah, I mean, did they have to predict the games too? Did they have to predict 3-0, 3-0 to start?
No. They didn't have to go that far.
So we're gonna see it today, folks. We banned our way around it for a while, but with Graveyard and Musketeer, the bans here, looks like Paradox going with the RG Fishboy Hunter combination.
Yeah, one of the strongest decks in the game. But the problem is, you know, the E-Wizard Barb Hut Royal Hog deck is just very, very strong versus the RG. And that's the difference. A lot of these don't really run E-Wizard and Skeleton Dragons, but the Electro Wizard is just such a huge card to really shut down Royal Giants.
So here we go. Barba, E-Wiz gonna lock things down pretty heavily. We'll see what's in cycle for this. Just the Skeleton Dragons, and Fireball will eat those up pretty well. Fireball the opposite direction. That Heal Spirit gonna give an extra bit of jolt to that Royal Giant. Down to under 800 HP on the left-hand side is Schwarzen's tower, and he's already calling good game.
Yeah, unfortunately for Schwarzen here, he doesn't have a Hunter. He doesn't have a Fisherman. He really has no way to shut down the RG. If you look at it, Electro Wizard is his strongest single target card, and you would say that, you know, the Electro Wizard doesn't really do that much damage to single target units.
No, it's not a heavy hitter. It's not a big single target DPS. I mean, its stun is really where its value comes from. So you can see now Schwarzen setting up for the right-hand lane, trying to put enough pressure on that maybe Paradox doesn't feel comfortable going RG, but knowing Barbhut's out of cycle, I can't imagine that he won't.
RG right down the left-hand side for the game here. I just do not think Schwarzen can stop this. And there it is. That's going to be 2-0. Paradox striking back for the East. And I mean, this is a dominating performance right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Paradox is doing his analysis himself or if he has part of that giant Russian cabal of top-tier players all working together to bring it out. But right now, Paradox is completely 10 steps ahead of Schwarzen when it comes to planning these matchups.
Yeah, and I think he is working, with some people. I saw on Twitter the other day that he, was thanking some people, to help him getting him here. And that's the thing. I mean, everybody at this stage needs to have a couple of analysts on their team just talking to them, scouting the opponent. And that's the best part about competitive Clash Royales, especially when you get to this tier, this level. Everybody in Russia would want to help out Paradox. Germany, just helping out your, country mate to get him, an advantage. Any little bit of information is important. And right now, Paradox is just, just has the better decks right now. That's just what this comes down to, Rich.
Yeah, I mean, these matchups twice now have been pretty rough for the German, who's been great up to this point, but going a little bit slow in some of these matchups too. And that's one of the other hard parts about this one, and chatting, is that in both of the decks that Schwarzen's gone with, with a faster cycle deck, it's a little bit easier to outplay a bad, not of course hard counter, but a bad matchup. With these slightly heavier decks, outplaying a bad matchup is just a little bit more difficult to do. So right now, Paradox with a chance to 3-0 and take a big step forward into that next stage, into our semifinals.
Yeah, absolutely. As Paradox 1 win away now to move on. Going to be running a skeleton barrel here, potentially double bait. There has been a lot of double bait in the East.
We've seen double bait a fair bit lately, and also mortar skeleton barrel has been popping up some, but of course, as you can see, already going to be double bait, and looking like it might be
the lumberjack balloon.
Yeah, although barb barrel.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, usually that lumberjack balloon deck with Royal Recruits runs the snowball as opposed to barb barrel. Dart Goblin, an interesting wrinkle here.
Barbhut as well, all right. Very heavy. You see, the problem with Schwarzen right now is this deck, I feel like he's once again countered here. This Barbhut's not going to do anything versus a double bait deck.
Yeah, the Barbhut's, again, an interesting choice going to that well one more time. Maybe thinking the Graveyard ban would mean that his opponent wasn't expecting to be facing against Barbhuts, because this is the other construction you see with Barbhut the most, which is Ram Rider. And, of course, this could be a nice connection on the left-hand side, so a good early lead here for the German, forcing out the defensive Goblin Barrel, which is usually a break glass in case of emergency move.
Yeah, absolutely. Paradox struggling a little bit here, and as you saw, he lost his Dark Goblin there on that left-hand side, just wasn't able to get his troops out fast enough to defend it as the Skeleton Dragons were able to splash on it, and that caused a catastrophic series of events. Dark Goblin is the MVP of Paradox's deck, has to stay alive as pretty much long as humanly possible.
And look at that perfect timing there, knowing the log would come out for the Dark Goblin on the right-hand side. Heal Spirits the left-hand side to put a little extra pressure out of the 6-man. And double bait push on the right-hand lane.
Barrel is going to come down here. Skeleton. Dragons are down for the Skeleton Barrel here. All right. It looks like Schwarzen's able to stabilize a little bit here. Got to protect this Dark Goblin, though. Every time the Dark Goblin dies to a Skeleton Dragon, it is not what you want if you are Schwarzen. But look at this damage on this right-hand side. Rich! All it takes is one connection from double bait, and now look at Schwarzen's right-hand side tower.
Yeah, I mean, that was well chosen there by Paradox. We'll see if Schwarzen can get anything going on this counter. Of course, the bomb tower picking up most, but not all of that, and that's a pile of recruits on the right-hand side. Bar Barrel not back in cycle for Schwarzen yet, though. Gonna eat some more damage. Bar can pick up the skeletons, but this one's getting very, very tight. A game that it looked like Schwarzen had pretty well under control. Of course, should have more defensive capability as we get later in the game.
Yeah, absolutely, and we just have to highlight here the Ram Rider on the left-hand side. Log is going to come out. Log is going to do a little bit of damage, though. And this Ram Rider, not able to get the charge off. 1099 on the left-hand side. Paradox in complete control of this game. All he has to do is defend for another 30 seconds, and he could just fireball cycle his way to victory.
And you see Schwarzen has to fireball there on the Goblins. And you saw him before that, a quick moment where Schwarzen played the Bar Barrel right over tower rather than outside, and missed one Goblin, so had to throw a Heal Spirit on top of that as well. So little things like that in a tough situation, giving Paradox more of an advantage.
And this is going to be the game here. Fireball on the right-hand side will end this matchup.
No fireball needed. Log gets it done, and it's Sweep City here, folks. Paradox comes out and stops the hype train of Schwarzen right in its tracks.
Wow. I mean, Rich, clean sweep after clean sweep after clean sweep. Paradox now taking out Schwarzen. A lot of people said Schwarzen was going to make it to the grand finals. In a lot of the brackets that I was looking at on Twitter and everything like that, not many people had Paradox coming out, but it looks like the dark horse is looking great. I mean, a 3-0 versus Jupiter King, a 3-0 versus Schwarzen now, playing great in the last two matchups that he had in the No Tilt World Championship. And I think a lot of people are counting Paradox out, but, you know, at this point, I mean, he's looking really strong.
I mean, playing well, getting good matchups, obviously, but playing them correctly. And, you know, your deck choice can only go so far. You have to play it right, not make mistakes. And Paradox, nice, clean 3-0. Schwarzen just kind of looking at that, has to throw his hands in the air and say, what else can I do?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that was just great deck choicing right there from Paradox. The main thing in that last game was the Dark Goblin that Schwarzen, unfortunately, Bar Battle just does not clear out a Dark Goblin. And it's just too much defensive pressure if you're not able to clear out a Dark Goblin that can sit on your King Tower for 10, 15 seconds and just continue, just throw out darts at everything. As we get over to this last matchup, the only way you had to clear out a Dark Goblin was a Fireball.
Yeah, I mean, this was rough top to bottom, and you saw in the last one, no answer for the Royal Giant. Here, just, again, a third super heavy choice. 2 7 Elixir cards between the 6-man, aka Royal Recruits, and the Barb Hut. And so giving himself 3 deck choices in a row that all make it very difficult for an outplay in a bad matchup situation. I'm a little bit surprised here by Schwarzen's choices, and I gotta wonder how much of that was the Graveyard Ban made him think that Barb Hut was kind of a swerve in this case.
Yeah, you're not wrong, and that's the thing. A lot of people try to do, you know, the quick swerve, you know, the shake and bake, but sometimes it just doesn't work out for you in your favor. Paradox just didn't even blink at that, played what he wanted to play today, actually used 2 decks that I haven't really seen from him in the No Tilt World Championship. So he actually brought out 2 decks that he normally never does. So probably Schwarzen had, you know, the book on Paradox, and Paradox threw out the book and said, I'm going to do something I've never done. And that's the thing. If you're able to play every deck, you know, there is in the game, you could literally just throw out the book and say, all right, try to beat me with cards that you've never seen me play before.
Well, I mean, look, if you're good at Clash Royale, you're good at Clash Royale. That's what it comes down to in the end. And Paradox is good at Clash Royale. It's, again, like I said, it's hard to get to this level, hard to get to any sort of significant level without having a solid mastery of the game overall. So able to kind of go off the track of what people would expect from him and punish in this situation. And Paradox now maybe outthinking the Paradox and his team outthinking the analysts of Schwarzen moving on to the semis.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just have one matchup left to go in the quarterfinals, and that's going to be Vitor versus Line. Vitor actually is semi-pro in the No Tilt League, plays absolutely phenomenal control. One of the best control I've seen in a very long time, pro or semi-pro alike. So that's going to be a really fun matchup to watch. Line, though, as you know, one of the best in CRL.
Yeah, I mean, Line, kind of a quietly talented player in CRL East overall out of South Korea. One of those players doesn't get as many headlines as some of his teammates do, but certainly very good. So we'll see how he fares up against the pride of Portugal coming up in just a few minutes.
See you guys in a few.
And welcome back to the finals of the No Tilt World Championship. If you're just joining us, I'm Rich Slayton. Also with me as well is in chatting. We've been going back and forth casting pieces of this No Tilt World Championship. Finally here together, and we've reached the last of our quarter-final matchups. On one side, the pride of Portugal, Vitor, who's been great in OCL, great in No Tilt League, and of course great for his country. On the other side of it, one of the quieter players out of South Korea, Line. Crazy talented, has had great performances in CRL, and of course that number 2 finish at No Tilt Worlds for South Korea. Has not gotten the same press of his countrymen like TNT and Jupiter King, but a tough out for anyone, and that's why he's here in this quarterfinal. And Chatton, you've gotten a chance to see Line play a lot more than I have, getting up early to cast all of those No Tilt World Championship Eastern Regional matches. What are your thoughts on Line coming into this matchup here against the Portuguese player Vitor?
Well, I mean, Line kind of struggled a little bit early in the start of Stage 3, but after the slow start, he just started dominating each and every single one of his opponents. And but I mean, dominating, I mean, he just dismantled them one after another. And I think he's really, kind of in his own right now. And I think he's a force to be reckoned with. And I think Vitor has a big uphill battle to stop Line from what he is doing right now. I think the biggest game right now is going to be game 1. Vitor's got to come out. He's got to take game number 1 and put Line on his back foot, because Line has not felt pressure in the No Tilt World Championship pretty much since week 1 or week 2 of stage 3.
And one thing that we do know Vitor does do well with, though, is pressure. He's one of those guys who does anchor a lot, both in OCL and also for Portugal overall, who outperformed expectations. A team of semi-pros surrounded by CRL stars in the No-Tilt World Championship, and Portugal, of course, going on to make the top 8 as one of those dark horse picks that maybe outperformed expectations. So we'll see. Can the magic continue for Vitor in this matchup here against Line, or will the East continue? And you talked about that first game being important there in chatting. So far, the first game has been critically important because we have had 3 straight clean sweeps.
Yeah, absolutely. And for everybody just joining us, this is the No Tilt World Championship. If you saw the 20-win challenge in your game, this is now stage 4 of that tournament. This is where the top 8 players in the world are going to compete for the World Championship crown.
You talk about remembering that 20-win challenge. This is an open tournament. Literally every player who had Clash Royale installed on their phone was available and open to play in this event. Only about 3,000 plus people made it past that 20-win stage. And since then, the competition has been absolutely fierce.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see a Giant Skeleton for the first time today. Giant Skeleton, Hog with an Ice Wizard. I believe this is the first time he's going to be playing this variant in the No Tilt World Championship.
Yeah, and you see maybe what Vitor is going for there with the NATO, although not working out for him.
This is actually old school splash yard, Rich. This is 2000. This is actually when the first 20-win challenge came out. This was one of the most popular decks in the game. That is how old this deck is. This is like a 2018 Clash Royale deck with the bomb tower instead.
Yeah, this version of Splash Yard has been in and out of popularity for a long time. It continues to be viable. It's very simple, very direct. And Vitor here going Giant Skeleton Hog with the EQ in here. I'm very curious to see what he does with these NATO plays. We've already seen one NATO play attempting to go for something fancy here from the Portuguese player. And he has 2 different cards that can really get fancy with that tornado, whether it be the Giant Skeleton, or if he needs to in a pinch line something up with that Magic Archer. We'll see if he continues trying to go for the big moves.
Yes, Line just has all of the answers here. I'm trying to figure out a way for Vitor to get any reliable damage onto the tower besides a Magic Archer. He's got a bomb tower and he has a tornado for the Hog in Line. He's going to get just steady damage with this graveyard all game.
Yeah, and that's going to be really tough for Vitor to handle. The Magic Archer, not the greatest response for Graveyard. He's going to have to overspend most of the time to defend these graveyards, which will be great for the South Korean player as time goes on.
Yeah, this is just a desperation, just everything at the bridge push here from Vitor. And this is just one of those situations where Giant Skeleton needs to somehow connect to the Crown Tower as the Magic Archer, like you said, lined up, getting off a little bit of damage here on the left.
Well, I think what we're going to see here out of Vitor is continue to try to set the line high and not let tanks get across the bridge as best that he can. And that Giant Skeleton is going to be more about pressure, I think, than anything else, though not going to matter here. That's going to be tower pretty much down. NATO to finish it off. Baby Dragon, GG, well played. And maybe Vitor figuring out what he wanted to try to do a little bit too late, but in the end, no consistent, no significant answer to that graveyard.
Yeah, just Line just had the better deck there. I just didn't see a way. Like I was saying earlier, there's just, I mean, you drop a Hog Rider to get your reliable damage. He has a tornado and he has a bomb tower to stop it. The Giant Skeleton, you know, Rich, is just a roll of the dice if it ever gets to a tower. And just Line controlled that perfectly. And, you know, when you're playing a graveyard deck, you could afford to just play defense all game. You could be like, you know what? I'm never going to throw out my graveyard. I don't need to. I'll throw it out when you overcommit. If you never overcommit, you're never going to do damage on my tower anyway, and that's kind of what we saw. Vitor had to overcommit to do damage at the end there to Line's tower, and Line said, okay, I'm just going to take your tower on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, a tough situation all the way around for Vitor in this one. Line taking game number 1. Game number 1 has been the all-important game of this grand finals so far. 3 clean sweeps. Can Line make it 4 sweeps in a row? A quick morning here potentially at the No Tilt World Championship Grand Final.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we go. Game 2. Let's see if Vitor can break the mold. Right now we have a mold, Rich. We know exactly what's going to happen. Somebody wins game 1, they win game 2 and game 3. Can Vitor be able to take game 2 and kind of just stop the train of clean sweeps that's been going on today?
Well, Vitor certainly has the talent to do it. 7.8K player with lots of experience competitively, especially over the last year and change so far. Represented his country a couple of times, both in the World Royale League and in the No Tilt Worlds for Portugal. And of course, a big part of LA Gaming and S2V Esports in CCS and the No Tilt League. So lots of competitive experience. Of course, not at the same level of competition that Line has been in CRL East.
Here we go. Graveyard down onto the right-hand side. Line going to be running down. Graveyard's down. Vitor's throat. And what is this? No, Rich. Look at how much damage this first Graveyard does.
Yeah, we've seen a lot more aggressive early Graveyard this year. The thought process used to be, and here we go, the GY Musk push in the opposite direction. Delivery completely stops the tankage, although, color me wrong here, the Knight's still taking for a minute, but defensive poison stops any significant damage. As I was saying, we've seen a lot more aggressive early Graveyards, and even with heavier decks in chat, and whether you're talking about Lava first play, Golem first play, it seems like heavy decks, instead of waiting towards double and playing defense, people are getting aggressive early across the board.
Yeah, absolutely, Rich. And once again, we now have a game where that one aggressive Graveyard is all Line really does need to win this game. I mean, all he has to do is just defensive poison the entire time for the next, 2 minutes until we get into triple elixir time. And Vitor's just never going to be able to get any damage off on Line's tower. And we're going to see another defensive poison. No, look at these skeletons spawning so far away from the tower.
Yeah, that one-off positioning there on the Graveyard, and not getting much of anything there. The Musketeer able to clean it up, and that was a pretty nice, cheap defense for Line, and sets up a nice GY Musk counter push.
Yeah, and I think Vitor may have just wanted Line to not use his poison on that Graveyard, and maybe get a couple of skeletons spawning close to the tower on, a little bit of luck there. And that's sometimes what Graveyard is, though. You can roll the dice like that, and it did not work out for him there. Once again, another Graveyard poison.
Yeah, I mean, all momentum going in the direction of the South Korean right now. Vitor completely behind, as you said before, just one good defense early on and one sufficient defense later. And right now it is all looking bad for the Portuguese player.
And Line is just not even needing to use his poisons on defense, as one claw skeletons and Musketeer are enough. If Vitor isn't poisoning on offense, he is never going to get any damage on Line's tower.
And Line's figured out the defensive rhythm here. He has not been worried at all about a solid tank coming in and really getting significant damage for the Graveyard on his tower, so he's been happy to poison on offense. And most importantly, taking the Musketeer off the board as well, so she can't get tanked for by the Graveyard. This is Line's game to lose at this stage.
Yeah, Graveyard poison should just end it here. One skeleton's got to connect. There it is on the left-hand side.
And here we go. 2-0 for Line, and we are one win away from a clean sweep quarterfinal.
Wow. We might only see 12 games in the quarterfinals, Rich. If I told you we were going to see 12 games in the quarterfinal play, what would you have said?
I would have said you're an insane person. You're an absolute crazy person. I would have called up somebody and said, someone go check on Enchantin because something might be wrong at his house. Maybe he's being held and being forced to say that. And it turns out that you might be right. It's totally possible that we're going to see a 12-game quarterfinal, which is completely insane.
Yeah, absolutely. But you want to know what the good part about that is, though, Rich, is every single person going into the semifinals is going to be hot. So it is going to be a crazy semifinal. I mean, I just do not see it shaping up to be any other way. I feel when you 3-0 sweep somebody in a stage this high, you got to be going confident, chest up, going into the next round. Even if you lose game one, your chest is still going to be up. So the matches next round, nobody better be going anywhere, because that's probably going to be some of the best Clash Royale you're ever going to see.
Speaking of chess being up, don't forget to subscribe not only to the No Tilt YouTube page here for all the No Tilt action, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm giving away a Clash Royale chest today. Baby Dragon, stickers, special edition pins. So go ahead and subscribe there. I'll be doing the drawing before the grand final. And one of you guys will get the cannot get it anywhere now Baby Dragon sent right to your house.
And here we go, Vitor versus Line. Can Vitor just get a win at this point? Or will Line be able to complete the 3-0 clean sweep? Everybody gets one in the quarterfinal.
You get a sweep, and you get a sweep, and you get a sweep. Look under your chairs. Had to do it. It was right there in chat, and you set it up. So perfect.
Listen, I was waiting for it, and you hit it. You hit it.
Skeleton Dragons and Tennis Ball, a.k.a. Heal Spirit, banned for this one. So it gets rid of some of the more popular decks in the meta. Of course, that Royal Giant Fisherman Hunter deck, losing 1.5 pieces that make it work.
As Vitor and Line here are just going to wait. This is the waiting game. See, if you're Line right now, I'll do whatever you want to do, Vitor. You control this game because I'm not going to play. And that's, sometimes a lot of Clash Royale is who plays the first card is at a little bit of a disadvantage sometimes.
Yeah, but it used to be for a long time that a situation like this, you'd say, hey, they're playing Beatdown. They're definitely playing Golem or Lava, something like that. But as you're talking about, now that it seems like a 3 or 4 elixir opening play can be the game changer. We're seeing people play fast cycle decks and wait until double before they start making plays.
Yeah, absolutely. As a minute and 10, 10 seconds left into double time. And we're about to see a lot of cards being played onto the arena. And there it is. Lava Hound on the left-hand side for Vitor.
And Expo under the lava. There you go.
Oh, this is...
Bowler Bow, let's go. Okay. Awiz comes out. This deck, when the new meta got made, when Bowler came out with the buff, this deck appeared a few times, was wildly unsuccessful in the times that it did appear. Some people played a variation of the same deck with Graveyard rather than Expo, but this Bowler Bow deck making its reappearance here in the quarterfinal with Line up 2-0.
Expo continuing to connect onto the left-hand side, and Vitor, I don't know how else to say this, Rich, but since the beginning of time, Expo has been the hardest counter to Lava Hound you can get. Vitor is going to need to make something happen here.
Well, you know what? Want to know what makes that worse is when your opponent has an Inferno Dragon for your Lava Hound and an Ewiz for your Inferno Dragon, and, oh yeah, a Bowler for your Barbs on top of all of that.
Oh, wow. 1-cost skeletons are right there, and this one's over, Rich. Unfortunately, the hard counter was just too strong.
I mean, just unbelievably filthy choice here out of Line. I mean, there's no reason to look at this. Okay, Fireball out of cycle, but Bowler. And Vitor's just like, come on, man. What else can I do here?
Yeah, well, there's an E-Wizard now, and then there's an Inferno Dragon, and then there's a Fireball for your tower to clear out the game. Oh, there's a Tornado, too. I forgot the Tornado.
Oh, my word. Oh, my word. 12-0 for our quarterfinal round. 4 clean sweeps. We have an all-West on one side. We're going to have a West versus East final, folks, no matter what happens. That's how the bracket works out now. So you wanted to see... the two hemispheres throw out their, right? Is that hemisphere? Which one? The two sides throw out their champions. We're going to get it. And it's all capped off by a bowler bow, by an ex-bowler deck out of the South Korean.
That I have not seen that deck in a very long time, and it comes out versus a Lava Hound. Oh,
Fred Bowler.
That was hard to watch. I mean, he had everything you can imagine to defend that.
It was like Vitor walked into a room that he thought had 4 doors, and then he was in a Christopher Nolan movie and spun around, and suddenly he was like, wait, there are no doors in this room. There was a door there was a door there. Now I'm in a room with no way out. Every single way he looked was a dead end. And absolutely brutal trap sprung and set there by Line.
And then it's going to be, we're just watching the replays of what happened. Graveyard Poison was enough to take game 2 and then game 3. There really isn't much to say about this one, Rich.
Yeah, other than oh my word. This was my favorite part of the whole game right here. Is Vitor's like, oh, Fireball's out of cycle. I'll play Barbs. And then there's a bowler who just says no to the Barbs. And oh yeah, the E-Wiz stops your balloon. Absolutely.
And then it's like, oh wait, I'm about to get a shot. No, tornado.
That might be one of the most brutal situations I have ever seen in casting Clash Royale. Just unbelievably brutal. I have to, you gotta feel for Vitor in that one. I mean, he must have felt like, you know when you're trying to run away from something in a dream and your legs won't move? That had to be what that felt like for Vitor in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, there was just no way. Looking at those 2 decks, there is just no way you are going to be able to win, and just the right deck at the right time for Line is going to advance him on to the semifinals, as we are looking on the screen right now. Boss versus Airsurfer, Paradox versus Line. For the semifinals, East versus West grand final will happen. And, I mean, you couldn't have lined it up any better.
Yeah, I mean, and great play on words there. Couldn't have lined it up any better there for Paradox. So we'll see how those 2 guys match up. And on the other side, Boss and Airsurfer. The old school versus the new school, you might say, in terms of American talent on that left-hand side of the bracket. Very excited to see those 2 guys go head-to-head. And it's going to be curious to see whether Boss goes to the well one more time with Goblin Giant Sparky, or whether he takes the advantage of having protected his deck pool and pulls out some new tricks in the semis.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting semifinals here. As we saw, clean sweeps from everybody. Everybody going into these semifinals probably will not be that nervous. If you 3-0 clean sweep your opponent in a quarterfinal matchup where there's 8 players left out of the tens of millions, every single person that had a Clash Royale installed on their device that was level, 7 or 8, or level 8, could compete in this tournament. And there are now 4. Boss, Airsurfer, Paradox, and Line left to go.
And, you got to think of that. A lot of the hard part's been done here so far. And, of course, all the players getting ready for our semis. Yes, the semis and finals are happening today, folks. We're going all the way to crown a champion who will take home almost $15,000 in the end. $14,500, the total winnings for the champion once they get that $10,000 first place prize plus the money that they've earned along the way. But you got to feel like I feel like there's less pressure here in the semis than there will be in the finals, right? The semis, you feel like you've gotten to the top 4, you're in a pretty good spot. I think that all these players will play loose in the semis, and the question will be how loose can they feel once they get to the final, and they're playing to either be the champion or the person who lost the champion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is a pretty big semifinals as well, because let's just say hypothetically, one of these, 4 players clean sweep their opponent, go into the final 6-0. That is the position you want to be in, Rich, because you will not fear anything at that point. You will go in there, you will just be relaxed, you'll be calm. It's kind of like one of those things like, all right, I'm playing great today. Nobody can stop me. It's like, kind of one of those, immovable objects at that point.
Well, I mean, the big thing is also about how much of their deck pool they've burned through at that point. You know, you play 5 games in a best-of-5 match, you potentially burn through 2 more of the decks you've prepared for this overall event. And you do have to prepare for 3 best-of-5s, right? That's a lot of lift getting ready for this, not to mention some of these players having CRL matches over this weekend for those playing in the East. So the amount of deck prep that's had to go into this one, I do give a slight advantage in that regard to airsurfer and Paradox in these matchups, just because they might have a little bit more information on what decks, specifically Boss and Line, have been prepping this weekend, because how many more can they add between CRL East and the No Tilt World Championship? So guys, we'll find out in a few minutes. Be back in just a couple with our first semifinal at the No Tilt World Championship.
We're good.
Here we go. Our first of our 2 semifinals for the No Tilt World Championship. Pride on the line, money on the line, bragging rights on the line. And wow, here we are on one side, an All-American battle. Boss and airsurfer on the other side. Paradox, the Russian, up against the South Korean line. We will have a West versus East grand final, but first, 2 more matches to get us there. In Chanton, it's been so far 12-0. Is there any way that this sweep city continues?
You know, Rich, everything in my bones is telling me there is no way. But everything that I'm looking at says there is a possibility. Today, we saw the impossible in Clash Royale esports. The 12-0 quarterfinals matchups in a competition where players had to go through millions just to get to where they are now. Anything can happen, Rich, but do you think that I think there will be another clean sweep in the no-tilt finals? No, I do not. Absolutely not.
Well, we'll see. I think these 2 players might be pretty evenly matched overall. Airsurfer, one of the best overall, especially when it comes to online play. And I don't think anyone in Clash Royale esports is surprised to see Jack at this stage. He's been one of the best for so long, and maybe underperformed a bit in CRL with a little bit of stage fright here and there, but playing from the comfort of his own home, one of the most dangerous men with a phone in his hand. On the other side of it, Boss, a very, very, very popular YouTuber who has worked so hard to get to this level. You can't imagine him letting a chance like this slip through his fingers without a big fight.
Yeah, and a lot of people, have said Boss overrated, Boss this, Boss that, and now he is here. Top 4 in the world, proving everybody that he is here to stay. And, that's just what it is, and this is where champions are born. This is where legends are made. We saw in 2017 Sergio Ramos become the world champion. And now in 2020, we are going to see another world champion in Clash Royale.
And doing it without playing a ton of Sparky. You can see some of the Boss fans annoyed with the Sparky ban. Of course, airsurfer saying, hey man, I'm just not giving you that. I'm not letting you have that opportunity. But Boss has done a lot of the work to get to this stage without relying on Sparky. So showing depth that maybe some of his critics didn't believe that he had coming into this event.
Yeah, and Boss, other than Sparky, he loves the Hogs. He loves an RG. So I assume we're going to see some RG. We're going to see some Hogs in this matchup. It's just depending on when. Boss went to his comfort picks in Game 2 and Game 3 versus AUK. Let's see when he starts going to his comfort in this matchup versus Airsurfer.
Bans are Sparky and Graveyard. So for those of you who are not used to Clash Royale esports, both of the players throughout this event, whether it was the quarterfinals we already saw or the remaining 3 matches, they submit their ban blindly, meaning they don't know what their opponent's banning. They submit their blind ban before the match, only finding out their opponent's ban once they are both submitted. And that is a global ban, meaning neither player can play Sparky or Graveyard for the entirety of this best of 5.
Yeah, and right here, Boss kind of countered a little bit into this matchup with the Barb Hut versus the Giant. Let's see how he's going to play this throughout as Airsurfer. Run this Barb Hut. Potentially, is this, I would assume it's Ram Rider or Royal Hogs.
Yeah, I mean, it feels more like Royal Hogs with the pieces that you have here, but, could be Ram Rider, obviously. And Miner goes right to the Musketeer. Heal Spirit, though, keeps the Muskie alive just a little bit longer. Barb Barrel not quite able to save the Cannon Carrier, so here we are going into sudden death overtime. Lead right now, mildly for Boss, but those Skeleton Dragon Belches will take it over for Airsurfer as we go to our final 2 minutes of play.
Yeah, 2 minutes left to go as the Fisherman Giants start pushing onto the right-hand side here. Musketeer Heal Spirit is going to get out just in time, and the Muskie staying at full HP.
And there you go. Royal Hogs into the left-hand side, right into a Hunter. 1 bat does go back to help. It's going to be a sizable chunk on that left-hand tower. And Miner again goes to the Musketeer, this time well protected by the Barb Barrel.
And this is the problem that Boss has. He has to somehow get a double giant, double lane pressure if he wants any chance to win this matchup. He's got to drop a giant at around 110 and then cycle to another one on the other side with triple elixir time. Unfortunately, he's kind of at this 118 giant drop mark where he's not really going to be able to get the full value of triple elixir. Airsurfer with the pigs on the left-hand lane here are going to be absolutely crucial once triple elixir time starts rolling in.
Good Hunter Heal Spirit, healthy push on the right-hand side right now for Boss. He gets a second giant down behind the Fireball. Fireball now going to be out of cycle, so we'll see how Boss contends with a Royal Hog push on the left-hand lane. So far, Airsurfer's defense up to the task on the right-hand side, but that Miner does get away and get on tower for a few huge shots.
Taking the tower all the way down to 1767. Fireball coming in onto the right here, doing a lot of damage. Piglet's left-hand lane, Hunter. Fireball instead.
And Airsurfer had that one pretty well defended. 1708 to now 1671. Hogs down one more time, left-hand side. Fireball does get in, but opposite direction Fireball as well. And just like that, Airsurfer has the lead back with 10 seconds left.
Yeah, Miner coming in onto this right-hand side. And a Fireball from Airsurfer should end this game.
And Miner can't get there in time. GG, well played. Airsurfer takes game number 1 in this semifinal matchup.
Yeah, perfectly played there from Airsurfer. Just was able to pick up that victory. Boss. And it comes down to when that triple elixir time was ticking. Unfortunately for Boss, with his cycle, he just didn't have the perfect timing on when that giant was played, where he had that double giant where the Miner did get off about 300-400 damage. He just needed a little bit extra time in order to really punish Airsurfer on that push. Airsurfer, though, 3 Royal Hogs is all he needed to win that matchup. And Boss dropping game number 1 here, but you know, pretty well played from Boss. I would say Airsurfer had the matchup there.
Yeah, I mean, Airsurfer had the ability to lock down on defense. The bar putt really great in this situation and defended the Miners very, very well most of the time, but Boss did a good job varying. The hard part was just being able to defend all 3 of those hog pushes sufficiently and was able to get 1 or 2 of them pretty well defended, but overall, once that damage came in a little bit too heavy, that's going to be a GG well played. Boss acquitted himself well, but now down 1 going into our second match.
Here we go, Airsurfer versus Boss here.
First time seeing wall breakers today.
Airsurfer running wall breaker with a musketeer here. Boss probably running piglets. And this is where the hard counter could happen in game 2, because if you're Airsurfer right now, you're probably expecting pigs to come out from Boss. It's probably one of his most comfortable decks that he runs. So let's see if he has the answer in the form of a bomb tower here to deal with it.
It feels like he will with when you look at the pieces that he has here. This looks like it's going to be a bomb tower variation. Could be wrong. But this is one of those things that's to keep an eye on with competitive players in chat, and is we'll see right here if it is. Yep, and it is the bomb tower. So many competitive players, younger competitive players, turn to comfort deck in game 2. It's almost to the point where it's fairly predictable at this stage. It became common. The first time I kind of caught on to it in CRL West was with Lapacati going Mortar in game 2 consistently. And it's become kind of a thing where younger competitive players, if they have a comfort deck, you'll see it in the second game, whether it's a BO3 and BO5. And you have to imagine the Airsurfer, and if Trainer Dip or if Dippets is working with him, that pair was expecting that Boss would go to one of his go-to decks in game 2 of this match.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he did in the quarterfinals. He ran with his Sparky deck. This time, Airsurfer took out the Sparky, and his second most comfortable deck, or I guess you could say probably even more so than even a Sparky, is his Royal Hogs. And I think, you know, Airsurfer was like, well, we're going to take a gamble here. We're up 1-0. If he goes with his comfort pick, we are going to be ready for it and just have the hard counter.
And it's not even a gamble in this situation. This is still a deck that Airsurfer plays very well with. He's a good minor wall breakers player. It's a viable deck overall. It can function against a lot of options that Boss might bring out. But if he does go with what he's going with here, it gives him a lot of good defensive capability.
And as can see, this bomb tower is just absolutely decimating these Royal Hog pushes. Like, they are not even getting close to airsurfer stout.
And you see Miner going right to the barb hut as those barbs cycle away from it. So just trying to kind of chip away at the overall pressure that support of that barb hut gives.
Musketeer still alive here, getting fireball down. And just like that, airsurfer in complete control of match number 2. Let's see if Boss can make something happen here. 6 barbarians are on the left-hand side.
Yeah, log, defend the muskie, put pressure in the opposite lane. You're going to see airsurfer continue to do this exact same general sequence as long as Boss is doing that. We'll see what happens with this pair of pigs on the right-hand side. Bomb tower easily counters.
And that's the problem. Airsurfer is able to just continue, every time he sees pigs, Miner goes down, bomb tower gets immediately played as well, and Boss is the one that takes the damage.
Bomb tower getting a little more value there as well. This is just lockdown D so far from the Misfits player. High bomb tower this time, so now varying placement a little bit. Maybe not wanting to give fireball value on that right-hand side. Has to spend skeletons on the pigs. And there you have Boss starting to catch up a little bit here.
Yeah, but Boss just gave fireball value on the left-hand side here. And that kind of hurts when you start to ramp up, you start to get back into the game, and then you give your opponent huge fireball value.
But here we go, triple elixir. This is where Boss can start stacking on defense and creating some significant pressure. The question is, can he get past both a fireball and a bomb tower at this stage with the level of pressure he can create?
Fireball comes in onto the left-hand lane here. Bomb tower is going to clear out these pigs. The next pigs that are going to be cycled are just going to be fireball down. If you're airsurfer, you have your hand over fireball in the middle of the arena right now.
Maybe not.
For the cycle.
Well, he knows he can get back to bomb tower. This deck cycles so insanely fast. So bomb tower picks it up. Miner to the back. Fireball will finish that one off, and that's going to be a GG well played. And Chanton, what if I told you that we lived in a world where it was possible that we would have 5 clean sweeps in a row at the Noto World Championship Finals?
No way. No way, Rich. This is no way. There is no way Boss loses this game 3. It's mathematically almost impossible that would happen.
Well, the impossible becomes the improbable, becomes the, oh my gosh, it might actually happen. Airsurfer, great read here. Great read here. And like we were saying before, Boss did it in the quarterfinals, does it here again. Going with comfort in game number 2. If there's anything, I am just a commentator for Clash Royale. I'm not a great player, but I have watched more competitive Clash Royale and talked about it than maybe anybody at this stage. And it's a lot of people at least. And if I am picking up on people going comfort in game 2, you have to be imagined that the top analysts are picking it up way before I'm getting there. Don't go comfort game 2, guys. It's so readable, and airsurfer, when whatever team he's working with, completely miles ahead on the deck choices here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the big thing right now is in game 3, Boss is probably bringing out RG here, and I assume airsurfer is going to go all in on an RG defense. I mean, it's just his 3rd comfortable deck. I mean, you don't want to go down into your 4th, 5th, 6th, deck pool here if you're Boss, because you're in a position where you can get eliminated. And this is the scary part about Boss. It's, do you run Royal Hogs again? Do you run an RG, which probably is expected? Or do you just go with something that you're not 100% comfortable with and then question it if you lose with it?
If I'm Boss, I go to TV Royale and just pick something that can't be predicted. And airsurfer may be going Expo here. He went 3.0 twice the other day.
Fireball right-hand side here. And then once again, you see another Piglets combination from Boss. Okay, so he went with comfort again in game 3.
Got a good chunk early on here. Saw the fireball wasn't going to be available, so wrecked shop on the right-hand side. Boss now getting on the board here with his first super significant shot.
Yeah, getting off a lot of damage there on his first push. Airsurfer kind of struggled a little bit there and on defense.
So we saw the same, I believe this is the Ram Rider deck that we saw earlier today. Airsurfer with a lot of air counters here, but up against Royal Hogs.
Yeah, interesting deck choice here from Airsurfer. I would have expected him to pick a deck that kind of counters RG and Royal Hogs. This one does not counter Piglets. Probably was not expecting Boss to go back to the same deck 2 games in a row.
And this is going to be another nice chunk on the right-hand side. Just even with the splash damage from the Skeleton Dragons, eating a whole lot of that 8-14 right-hand lane as we are just a few seconds away from going into double elixir time.
Yeah, but there's no Barbud here for the defense on this Ram Rider. Ram Rider completely decimating the Skeletons and gets off a lot of damage on the right-hand side. Outcycled the Barbud there for Airsurfer and took a huge chunk off of Boss's right-hand side tower.
8-14 right-hand lane for Airsurfer to 10-10 on the right-hand lane for Boss. Good timing on the Ram Rider, and here we go. So this is that same heavy Ram Rider 6-man or Royal Recruits deck that we saw. And of course, if you don't know the term 6-man, coined by Jack of Fav Gaming during a competitive match where he did not know the English word for 6-man, only knew it in Japanese, or for Royal Recruits, and so described it as 6-man ? And his opponent Razor said, I think he means Royal Recruits. And since then, that's where that name comes from.
A little bit of history right there. As we got this matchup going, Boss just needs to crash onto this right-hand side tower one more time.
Healthy Barb Hut, though. Fireball will take some of that down, not getting value on the tower, just stopping the Dark Goblin from opening up dual lane possibilities here for Airsurfer. And going with the 4-2 split to the strong side rather than to the weak side, forcing Boss to play away from his weak side tower.
Musketeer right-hand lane here. A lot of units on the field for Airsurfer. Fireball coming in. Fireball is going to connect with both Muskies.
Yeah,
Hogs are down.
Double Muskie value, and these Piggies will do a little bit of damage here, but not a crazy amount. 637 to 10-10 in the final 90 seconds.
All right. Can Boss just break through with 1:15 left to go? Make it into game 4. As a Fireball connects, 465 left on to the right-hand side.
And Airsurfer going to create some dual lane pressure. Tries to predict something with the Fireball. Was going for the Skeleton Dragons. Got the Fireball down a half second early. Nearly had that prediction. Instead, one will go the opposite way, and now Fireball in. A second Barb Hut has to come down low and late for Airsurfer to play defense.
Well, we have a Ram Rider onto the left-hand side once again from Airsurfer. Barb Hut is going to be good.
Skeleton Dragons just barely pick up the Musketeer. Final 30 seconds. Boss with a good lead, 293 on that right-hand tower. Can Airsurfer find a way through here at the end? Barb Hut, you know, Boss just has that ready for the Ram Rider the second it comes through. Can just sit back and defend at this stage. And the sweep streak finally ends at 14 games. Boss finally breaks the mold and gets on the board here in our semifinals.
Yeah, well played there. I mean, Rich, it was starting to get a little crazy with all of the sweeps, the clean sweeps that were going on in the No Tilt World Championship. Boss finally being able to break the mold here. And let's see what happens in game 4 as Boss bringing Royal Hogs in back-to-back matchups. Airsurfer, it looked with the deck selection that he had, was for an RG.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting choices here from Airsurfer. Of course, you know, maybe he thought that Boss was going to the air as well, But yeah, it looked like he was trying to put Boss on RG, but in the end, Boss gets an okay situation, plays it well, and was able to lock down defense and really give no way for this heavy deck to break through.
Yeah, now it's going to be interesting for Game 4. What does Boss bring out? Airsurfer still ahead 2-1. Boss still with his back against the wall here. And a Barb Hug comes down from Airsurfer. And a Giant for Boss.
Very curious about the, again, same thing we saw in Schwarzen's game. Graveyard Band, Barb Hut, go-to for the opponent. So we'll see if Airsurfer rides that out if we do go to a game number 5, but we're seeing the same thing here. So looking like it's going to be Ram Rider again here from Airsurfer potentially.
Yeah, going with the Giant stop, and this is a great deck choice and a great selection from Airsurfer. This deck counters, you know, heavier beatdown decks, which, you know, Boss is kind of known for. It also stops an RG as well, and that's exactly what he's going to go with. He's like, okay, you're not going to run Piglets 3 times in a row, and Boss did not.
A little pressure here from Airsurfer. And that's one thing that some pros talk about is, you know, if you're in a cycle of Barb Barrel, generally cycle it at the bridge. I mean, unless you're putting it in the back as a response to something, go ahead and put some pressure on. Either make them spend a little bit of elixir or get some damage on tower. So you see Airsurfer cycling Barb Barrel at the bridge there.
Yep, as the Giant slowly pushes onto the right-hand lane here, Skeleton Dragons trying to clear out this Giant. Barb Hut will do the trick, though.
And a nice heal spirit. Does not quite do it, though. Airsurfer one step ahead. Fireball clears things off. Now Giant in front of the Night Witch.
Yeah, but the Archers and the Dark Goblin here are going to clear up this Giant. Is the Giant going to be able to get a shot onto the tower? No, as the Archers just take the bats one bat at a time away.
As we go into
Boss
double...
down a little bit here.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, as we go into double elixir time, Airsurfer does have the lead, 1809 to 2290. Not to mention the lead overall. Match point for Airsurfer has 2 chances to get it done.
Giant split lane pressure now from Boss as he's just trying to make anything happen. He knows that he can't really get that much damage on Airsurfer's tower if he continues to just keep on flooding this right-hand side. This time switching to the left-hand lane, and Airsurfer having 2 Barb Huts down on the left, and this is not looking good for Boss.
And you see Boss now going to get the Barb Hut down off the left-hand side if he can, but that Dark Goblin perfectly placed to get the Miner down, put some damage on the Giant, and then go to the right-hand lane, so the log has to come out and get the Dark Goblin off the board on the right-hand side. Here we go, sudden death overtime. Airsurfer totally in control with match point.
Yeah, Boss, though, being able to clear out this right-hand lane. The problem is there's just too many swarms from the Barb Hut every time Boss gets that little bit of pressure. You think he's going to break through. There's just another Barb Hut that is played from Airsurfer.
And now the 6-man Royal Recruits clogging up the lane against the Giant. And Skeleton Dragon puts some pressure on the left-hand side as well. Dark Goblin will add to that value.
The problem is Boss just needs to clear the left-hand side and the right-hand side. The Airsurfer can go either way, and Boss just cannot defend both towers at the same time.
Ram Rider in, Fireball trying to stop the best that it can, but that Ram Rider still going to require more of a response and connect on top of it. Shout out Night Owl for that type of horror.
It's a 6 for 5 trade, and once again that puts his Boss on his back foot. Miner comes in, but the Miner it does not do enough damage to make it relevant. Dark Goblin still alive on the left-hand lane here, and with 43 seconds left, Boss is going to need to get a Giant to somehow connect to a tower.
It seems implausible at this stage. It would require Airsurfer to make a mistake of massive proportions, or lose internet, or have his house fall into the ground due to a freak earthquake. At this stage, it feels like Airsurfer has it pretty much locked all the way down. And you have to imagine that maybe it wasn't Royal Giant that they were putting him on, but they were putting Boss on this deck. for game number 3.
Yeah, either way, this is just a hard counter to both of those decks, and that's just a great analyst right here from airsurfer. I mean, he just knew exactly what he needed to play to shut down Boss's, pretty much all of Boss's decks. The only deck that this is, struggles versus is Boss's Royal Hogs, and he played that in game 2. He banned the Sparky, so that was never going to come out. And airsurfer winning this matchup, going on to the grand finals.
Airsurfer with a chance to put a huge feather in his cap if he can win this final matchup. Of course, going to sit back and wait to see who he's up against in that final, but very, very well played overall to Boss to get to this stage. Just getting this far is a gargantuan, a mammoth achievement to go through the 20-win challenge, to go through the 1,024 player brackets, to go through the craziness that was the group stage, and to get to this point, had to win so much and win so well. So GG, well played to Boss, taking home $4,500 in his fourth place in that semi-final performance. No shame making it this far. Very, very well done. Just ran up against one of the best to do it online in airsurfer.
Yeah, and as you can see, the replays of this match, airsurfer just was able to win in game 1 by the skin of his teeth here.
Able to hold on very, very closely, 72 HP, and then after that, it was never quite that close again. Game number 2, solid read here, going with the minor wall breakers bomb tower, and going with the Royal Hogs game number 2. Looked like he was read pretty well, and we've seen this before. Guy, you have to imagine that Dip is working with airsurfer on this, and Andrew's talked about it a lot, my co-host Andrew Guy from CRL, when we were in China for World Cyber Games, sitting with trainer Dippets as he was working with Juicy J to go ahead and win the World Cyber Games Championship. And Dip was putting every single player on their deck every single game. He's so good at doing this. So a combination of airsurfer's skill and talent with Dippet's ability to nail the analysis, and you have a very, very difficult, one of the most difficult pairs you can come up with in Clash Royale.
Yeah, no, you saw it there. I mean, game number 3, airsurfer, chose wrong, but at the same time, he was just waiting for Boss to play this deck. That's what happens when you go up 2-0, Rich, is you can afford to be like, okay, I'm going to play a deck that counters your top, 2 out of your top 4 decks. I already banned one of them. So the only deck that this doesn't do well is versus your pigs. And then there it is. airsurfer going to be moving on to your grand finals with that win in game 4. And now Paradox versus Line is going to wait.
Yeah, that's the other side of it. The Russian versus the South Korean. And one of those two going to go face airsurfer for the World Championship and $10,000 on the line. But first, they have to make it through this best of 5. Paradox has, of course, so far, in many ways, outperformed expectations here. You got to consider this sort of a win for him already, but would love to move on to those finals. Line probably the favorite here, but the way Paradox has been playing and the way that his analysis has been working, you really cannot count him out. You cannot take him lightly at this stage.
No, absolutely not. And I honestly think anything can happen in this last matchup here before the grand finals. Line versus Paradox here. You have the Russian versus the South Korean. I honestly think Paradox has a good shot to win this, Rich. I do.
He certainly does. He has to win 2 best of 5s, and he's a talented player. He's a very, very good player. Any great player, any very good player can win 2 best of 5s. You get some good analysis, you make some good plays, you play mistake-free Clash Royale, and you can get it done here. So Paradox certainly has a good chance. All you have to do is win 2 best of 5s, and you win $10,000 more.
Yeah, absolutely. As we have Line coming out here versus Paradox. This next best of 5 is going to determine who plays airsurfer in the grand finals. We will have a West versus East grand final as the 2 players still remaining are in the East.
This would be a big moment for Line already. Is a big moment for Line making it this far. He's been sort of in the shadow of his teammates, of his South Korean countrymen in terms of Jupiter King getting the most attention of anybody out of South Korea right now, and TNT has long been the best player out of South Korea in CRL. But Line with another chance here. I'll tell you what, I don't know what the next tournament is that South Korea is going to enter in their lineup, but I am frightened by the prospect of any team having to go up against Jupiter King, TNT, and Line on the same roster.
Yeah, that's 3 Goliaths in one team, and that's just something that is going to be really difficult to beat. Not many countries have 3 Goliaths. I can maybe name 2 other countries that might be able to deal with that. But South Korea, like you said, I believe they finished 2nd in No Tilt World. So, I mean, they are one of the best teams out there for sure as far as countries are concerned.
Came in just behind China in that No Tilt World and the No Tilt Worlds back in the late winter, early spring, and had a phenomenal run. Of course, Jupiter King was brilliant throughout that one. But now you add in the long-term accomplishments of TNT and CRL, the run of 2020 that Jupiter King's had, and Line with a good shot here at making the final. A win here would make South Korea one of the major powerhouses of Clash Royale this year. And don't forget Expo Master, of course. A lot of talent out of South Korea.
And here we go. The match we've been waiting for, Paradox versus Line.
Minor wall breakers both directions here. There was a time when minor wall breaker versus minor wall breaker pretty much was the competitive meta. Especially back in the fall of 2019. Haven't seen that as much lately.
So we got a Valkyrie here for Line. Interesting Valkyrie. Normally a lot of people use the Valkyrie for the graveyard defense.
Yeah, Valkyrie's been popping up a little bit more lately. We've seen Valkyrie kind of get mixed in as an alternative. Of course, Valkyrie and Knight both considered sort of alternatives to each other depending on what you're facing more. If you're facing more splash, you go Valk. If you're facing more single target need, then you go with the Knight. And so we're seeing them become a little bit more interchangeable in some of these deck constructions. Of course, Knight not typically part of this minor wall breakers deck.
Miner on the right-hand side here for Paradox, just trying to continue to get chip, but the Valkyrie, once again, down. Miner has not got one connection on the tower so far.
And going for the wall breaker kite there is Line defensively playing it, and then bomb tower behind. Final minute of regulation play, and so far no significant damage either direction. Line pitching a shutout. Paradox down to 22-46 in the left-hand lane.
Yeah, just a little bit of chip here, a little bit of chip there. Bomb tower's going to come out, clear down the goblins.
So you can see that. I was going to say, you can see this matchup is basically a mirror, except for the difference of the Knight versus the Valkyrie.
Yeah, and I would say the Valkyrie has the matchup here. The Knight has the matchup here being a quicker cycle card, but as you see, Line is just pummeling this right-hand side tower.
Well, the Valk does give Line one extra response to the wall breakers that Paradox doesn't have, right? He has both the bomb tower and the Valkyrie, and you can see the Valkyrie cutting right on through here. That's going to be a GG well played on the right-hand side. Yeah, Knight versus Valk, you take Knight, but Valk versus wall breakers or Knight versus wall breakers, you take Valk, and 2 different defensive options. Line able to shut it down here in game 1.
Yeah, Paradox just struggling a little bit to get anything going there. I think Line just shutting down the first 2 miners of that match may have gotten to Paradox a little bit there, as Line was able to just continue to flood that right-hand lane over and over again, get the breakthrough, and take game number 1.
Yeah, very, very big difference. You can see Line playing 1 more bomb tower than Paradox, and even though despite the faster cycle, and again, I got to think a big part of that was that Paradox just felt a little bit more stretched thin trying to play defense than Line did. Line felt like, it looked like Line never really had a situation where he didn't have the answer he wanted in hand. And Paradox, on the opposite side of it, seemed like he was maybe out of sorts often with the pushes coming in from Line.
Yes, as we just wait for an eager game 2. Paradox has been running a lot of different decks lately. Pretty unpredictable as far as deck selection is concerned. Running another Knight here.
Miner into the back and easy King Tower activation there. Maybe Line going a little aggressive there with that Miner to open up.
And just like that, the King Tower is already activated versus, you know, a Miner chip with a Bandit. And just like that, Paradox has a pretty decent advantage to start this out.
So Paradox just running it back one more time. And Line cycling Pekka to the right-hand lane. First minute away, and Paradox with the damage advantage and the King Tower activation. Going to significantly reduce that minor damage unless it's played to the safe spot, which in that case is much more catchable.
Let's see how he's going to deal with these Pekkas. Rocket. I mean, that's one way to deal with the Pekka.
Going to end up behind by about an elixir and a half is Paradox. So we'll see if Line can take advantage of that one as we get into the midway point of regulation time.
Yeah, Paradox, all he needs to do is defend, get a couple of chips with his Miner here and there, and then get to triple elixir time where you could just rocket cycle Line out.
You see some smart play there, and Ewis has to come down, a little over expenditure on Line side. We'll see if any sort of counter push comes from it. You see the smart play from Line on the right-hand side. King Tower already activated, goes Miner to the inside, knowing that Paradox will probably try to catch to the outside and forcing the extra 1 elixir expenditure, try to get an advantage out of there if he can.
Yeah, and Paradox is just playing this beautifully, knowing all he has to do is keep on flooding the left and the right-hand side. Don't let a Pekka come down, and when the Pekka does come down, I expect a rocket on defense once again from Paradox here. It's really his best way to shut down this this Pekka if there is something else behind it. All right, looks like it's just going to be a Pekka here. Don't need a rocket just for that.
Yeah, Skeletons will easily control that. Log not coming in to clear anything off, and a good kite there from the wall breakers. This is
kind of just a waste of 7 elixir.
This is a really interesting back and forth here, chat.
Yeah, who's going to be able to break through? And the later this game goes like this, Paradox is okay with it. Rocket just out-cycles Poison at the end as far as tower damage is concerned.
Bomb tower high to pick up the Baby Dragon and work on the Miner, 1918 to 1873 as we go into sudden death. You can see the early skeleton surround on the back end there from Line to pick up the Miner.
Pretty close game right now. Minute 35 left to go. Baby Dragon right-hand side here. Let's see if Line tries to play a Pekka in the back kind of around now once he stops this push just to gain that pressure. So Paradox can't just straight rocket cycle him. Let's see if that's what he chooses to do. There it is.
And decides to pressure into that same lane rather into the opposite lane here. So we'll see how that decision works out. Of course, it will create some frustration there up top. And the Line has mostly been very good against these Miners. It's one of the few he's actually missed at this stage of the game.
And Knight comes down. Knight is going to be away from his towers, so the Baby Dragon cannot splash on, and there it is. The
and it gets the Pekka too.
Line. That's a lot of health coming off of that Pekka from that rocket. A little bit of a mistake there from Line.
Good catch there on the Miner with the Skeletons. Those are going to be so necessary for Line in this stage. Rocket cycle coming in, Miner to the back. And we're going to see Line just get crazy with some of these Miner cycles here. He has to try to beat out this rocket. We'll see if he has any chance of it. 690, 644 to 797. Miner goes to the inside corner one more time. Bomb tower high That NATO expenditure is good for Line here in these final moments.
Oh no, oh no!
Oh! He lets the Knight connect, lets it connect twice. Rocket in. Oh my word, 18 HP. Paradox takes the win in game 2.
Wow, I think Line just forgot the Knight existed. That was the difference in the game, Rich.
Oh my gosh, was that 2 Knight shots that came in on the left-hand side?
Yeah, I think it was.
Unbelievable. Knight just going for a long walk right to the tower. GG, well played. We're tied up after 2.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was perfectly played by Line. He only lost the game because he had a P.E.K.K.A in his deck. The P.E.K.K.A just never really got him value at all in the game. It's just too heavy for Paradox's just slow, quick cycle. And Paradox, I mean, held on and won that game. I don't know how that Knight connected, but it did.
Yeah, I'm wondering what Line thought he was going to be facing going with minor P.E.K.K.A control. And, I mean, who's playing minor P.E.K.K.A poison right now? It's kind of crazy. You have to wonder what he was putting Paradox on in this situation to go with that choice.
Either maybe RG. It shuts RG down.
Yeah.
It's Ram Rider or Hog Rider, but that's unlikely. You're right, Rich. I don't know what he must have just been praying for an RG. I honestly do not know what he put him on for this.
Yeah, you almost wonder why not go with Mega Knight variation of this if you want to play this minor control overall, considering what the meta is like right now. And of course, in this situation, you know, you're not going to drop a Mega Knight on wall breakers often, but it gives you a lot better immediate defensive response into a counter push than a P.E.K.K.A would here.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're going to be moving on to game 3 now with both players picking up a win. Looks like this might be a little bit closer of a best of 5 than we've seen in our previous matchups.
Yeah, well, you know, after 4 sweeps, anytime that both players are going to win, it's going to be a lot closer.
I want to see that Expo Bowler deck.
Well, Heal Spirit, Log, Fireball, some pretty classic cycle here out of Line. And he might be going with 3.0.
Yeah, absolutely. As the Goblin Brawler is going to get taken out here.
I mean, this looks like 3.0 Expo. And Paradox misses what might have been an attempted prediction of some sort there with the zap.
He has a Goblin Cage is down now for Paradox. He's just going to get fireballed away.
And it's basically just been pure cycle play so far from Line. Tesla easily picks up. Nice miner there to predict the Tesla. Knew that was coming. Ice Spirit, though, should be enough to help this defense lock down against the balloon. Death damage will be all he gets.
Yep, still taking away a little bit of chunk onto that tower. Trying to get things close to even as we get closer to double elixir time.
So we've seen the first real attempts here. Line just sitting back playing defense at this stage, a little bit of spell cycle, and now sets up the defensive Expo.
Mega Knight and Musketeer here for Paradox. Can he break through?
Well, Minor Mega Knight go all over that Expo, and now Mega Knight might have enough. No, gonna die here on the Vine. Double elixir time now flowing. 3.0 Expo against Minor Loon with MK.
MK is here. MK is just going to be cycled around the world here as the Tesla needs to come down here to pull the balloon. Balloon's going to go right to the King Tower here.
Yeah, I am very, very curious about how Paradox does much of anything to get past the Expo Tesla combination. And now, of course, King Tower activation going to help out a little bit there.
Yeah, he just needs to keep on dropping his Expos right in this position, and the balloon will go to the King Tower each and every single time. Gotta take out the Tesla before you drop this balloon, otherwise the balloon is just gonna get kited here.
And now Line sets up Expo left-hand lane. Mega Knight not quite there. Skeletons make just enough room for the cage to get down in time. Fireball does get the lock for the Expo.
Yeah, the zap comes out, but it's just a little bit late. Expo's still going to get a lot of damage here. Ooh, good arrows, but the Expo still connects.
And you see, yeah, the zap reset, but not able to keep troops on the board long enough to take advantage of the zap reset. Here we go, defensive Expo set up for Line. This should be how the game goes down. Lather, rinse, repeat. Don't make any mistakes, and Line should be able to hold on for the next 80 seconds.
We're gonna see. Fireball comes in, left-hand side, clears out the Goblin Cage once again. Sim City should be Line's gameplay of choice in about 2 seconds.
And King Tower activation. Wow, what?
Okay.
King Tower.
This just got interesting.
Yeah, didn't help enough, and now Balloon's starting to pressure here, and that's a reasonably healthy Mega Knight. Miner.
Come down to close this out. There it is. Arrows are down. Miner getting off a little bit of damage, but just not enough.
I mean, Fireball Log Cycle should be enough here for Line to hold on and get this win. I cannot imagine another Balloon getting through. And Miner not caught. Arrows, though. Oh my gosh, Balloon gonna go. Balloon snuck past, forced out the Fireball, and suddenly, just like that, Paradox in the lead. Miner goes to the inside, no catch gets in, 65 HP. Paradox looks like he's gonna take this one here. Unbelievable.
No way that just happened.
Fireball trying to steal it, can't do it, arrows! Paradox takes game number 3.
I'm in disbelief of what just happened, Rich.
I'm beside myself, absolutely beside myself. That Balloon just getting right past. I want to see the replay there on that one. The Balloon getting past the Tesla on tower, and Line must have been holding his head in his hands there.
Wow, that just changes everything. When you being up 2-1 as opposed to being down 1-2 is like night and day, as Paradox just stole a game. There's really no other way to describe what just happened.
That was crazy. That was absolutely crazy.
All he had to do was defend that last Balloon with a Tesla, and the Tesla never popped up. He just could not get the Tesla up. As the Balloon connected, the F damage was good on the left-hand lane.
Yeah, I really wish we could go to the replay right now. I'll have to wait until the replay does get flown in on the back end. Maybe we'll see how far back it actually goes. And now Paradox with the advantage. Match point, 2 chances to send himself to the finals here, where Airsurfer is waiting in the wings to play for that $10,000 prize. And guys, speaking of playing for prizes, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Link in the chat right now. Before the finals, we'll be doing a drawing for one of those big Clash Royale box giveaways. One of the only ways to get a Baby Dragon now. Baby Dragon stickers, pins, lots of fun stuff. I'll be picking for one of my subscribers before the finals. So go ahead and subscribe now.
Right. Looks like we got a Lava Hound for Line here on the right-hand side. Going to be a pretty good answer to Paradox's Hog Rodder.
Hog triple spell here for Paradox. And that's a smart bomb tower in this position. Miner to go into the back. And oof. Line running downhill right now.
This is going to hurt, Rich. This might be an entire tower.
And there you go, tower down. Line doesn't break a sweat in game 4, takes a huge early lead.
Yeah, huge victory right there from Line in the first minute and 30 seconds of the match. Let's see if Paradox can come back and take this victory. The barbs are just going to come down. No, Night Witch. Oh, he's got even a Night Witch to shut down this hog.
Yeah, I mean, Paradox is probably playing the EQ variation of this deck. as opposed to a fireball variation, but not risking it there was Line, so smart play with the Night Witch just in case Paradox was going for a variation as opposed to the standard version of the deck.
Yeah, I believe it is going to be Fireball because he would have, sorry, it is Earthquake because if it was Fireball, he would have definitely used it on the Pups, Baby Dragon, and Inferno Dragon on defense there.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah, you'd think. Gets here, left-hand lean here, but there's 30 seconds left, and Line has every advantage he needs. Barbarian's not going to be played here. There is the Earthquake that we were talking about. And that's going to be some significant damage, but I don't think he can cycle enough to get that damage on the right-hand tower. Needs to play one more hog to stay alive in this game.
I don't think staying alive is going to matter. There is an entire small army on the left-hand lane.
So our first 5-game match comes in our semifinals. It only took us 6 matches to get here, but we are going to the 5th and final game between Line and Paradox.
Yeah, absolutely great gameplay right there from Line. Paradox is still alive here in Game 5.
Very much alive. We'll see if he can grab Game 5 and grab a share of that finals overall. This is a $50,000 prize pool on the line. Of course, both of these players have already earned $4,500 for their prize, making the top 4. But of course, getting a shot at that final and that $10,000 prize, so much sweeter than going out here. So I'm telling you right now, in chatting, you get a best of 1 to see whether you play for $10,000. What are you picking? What are you doing here with a best of 1? Are you going comfort? Are you trying to go outside of what you're known for doing? Best of 1, and if you win, you get to play for 10 grand.
You know, Rich, if it was me, I would probably go comfort. The reason why is I would go comfort pick because I'm like, I want you to try to counter me, and I want you to play a deck that you're not comfortable with in order for me to win this matchup. I'm going comfort. I'm going Giant Graveyard. That's what I'm going.
You're going Giant Graveyard. I'm going 6 Loon. That's what I'm playing right now. Which we haven't really seen today. The Royal Recruits Lumberjack Balloon deck.
Lumberjack Balloon. All right.
Yeah. I've done a few different metas with Lumber Loon, and this one right now is my favorite. It's a whole lot of fun to play. So that's where I'm going. If I'm playing this one, we'll see if Line or Paradox go comfort, if they go outside of what they're known for playing and try to throw their opponent off. I mean, it's a lot riding on just one game, on just 3 to 5 minutes to decide whether you have a shot at the big money and the big glory. Forget the money here for a second. Think of the long-term impact of winning this event, right? Especially if you're a player like Paradox. Airsurfer, already a well-established CRL pro. Line, already a well-established CRL pro. Paradox, certainly getting looked at. But a win here, that's a future-changing type of event to win if you can take down the No-Tilt World Championship.
Yeah, I think that'll almost secure your spot on a CRL team if you're able to win this. I mean, it'd be hard for a Clash Royale League team to not take Paradox if he's able to win this championship, but it all comes down to here. It all comes down to a best of 1, Rich. And the players are taking their time, as you can see right now, and rightfully so. I would take my time. I would wait until the last second. I would double analyze. Now, are you the type of person who waits until the last second, changes your mind 5 times, or you're the type of guy that literally just goes, this is the deck, I don't care what happens, I'm running with it, I knew that I was going in, and beforehand you were like, if it ever goes to a game 5, I'm running this deck type of person?
Oh boy, I never really thought about it. You know, game 5, I might just be going for something I've never played before. That's how crazy I am. I'm just like, I'm too nervous. I can't play a deck that I know. Let me give myself an excuse if I lose and play something I've never played before.
Hey, that's a good way to go about it. But here we go. Do we have Ice Bow for line? Is he going like straight control?
I mean, he could be playing Ice Rocket. That's certainly a possibility. It certainly looks like it. Of course, some people have played this deck with Royal Giant, even with Hog Rider as well. So there's a couple different directions. I mean, he knows what 7 of the cards are, and now it's just a question of what he thinks is the best win condition to play against whatever he put Paradox on. More likely than not, it's Expo.
Unfortunately for Paradox, this is a hard counter, Rich. If there's a tornado in this deck for line...
Well, there's certainly a tornado in this deck. That'd be bananas if there weren't tornado in here. That would be
I'm just trying to
speculate as a possibility if there isn't a tornado.
Nah, there's got to be a tornado. But we've seen crazier things. We've seen 12 wins in a row. We've seen 4 clean sweeps in a quarterfinal.
Oh, and Paradox late with the skeletons. Oh, no. Has to spend the extra zap, and he knows that is a huge swing in the direction of his opponent.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's funny because in the beginning of time in Clash Royale, beatdown usually beats Expo. But as the tides were shifting, Expo, these Ice Bow variants, these defensive decks just always seem to just win because they are just so strong on defense. Paradox needs to somehow connect the Giant to the tower, and once again, an Expo locks on.
Yeah, this is just absolutely brutal. And on top of that, Paradox, you have the late skeletons, you have the miner getting picked up as it went for the Expo there. Just everything going his opponent's direction right now. Oh, and what a cheeky NATO for the Expo lock.
Ugh. Expo, there's just so much defense for each and every single Giant. It's never going to be able to break through no matter what. The only way Paradox wins this is if it goes into triple elixir time, and even then, it's just going to be Rocket Cycle for long.
Yeah, this has been a good run for Paradox, but Line's got this pretty well locked down.
Whoa, Night Witch!
NATO. And Bats will not even get on tower there. 1907 to 798 with 45 seconds left before we hit that triple elixir rocket cycle section.
And Night Witch down onto the right-hand side. Paradox is just... The problem with Paradox is he can't drop a Giant in the bag because the Expo will be just at his bridge, and he'll lose because of that. He has to play Giants pretty much at the bridge here. And the Teslas to tornadoes, there's just so many answers for what he's throwing out right now. Some of the chat here surmised that maybe the late skeletons were because of lag, so that would be a brutal one, but it's something we all contend with here on occasion. Rocket on the left-hand side, and we have one more rocket left to go. Zap comes out. Hunter trying to get value onto this right-hand lane, but it's just not going to be enough time. This is going to be the fastest cycle you've ever seen into another rocket. Rocket, here we go. Shining off the trophy, and Line is heading on to the final. $10,000. Yeah. Had to shine the trophy before he threw out the rocket, Rick. Yeah, why wouldn't you? You have the emote for a reason. Throw it out. Absolutely, and Line is going to be our second contestant in the grand finals for the No Tilt World Championship. A winner will be crowned in just one more best of 5. So congrats to Paradox for making it this far along. Gonna walk away with a nice little $4,500 prize for his semi-final performance, but walks away without the big prize, the big $10,000 championship, plus the notoriety of being the No Tilt World Champion, the solo Clash Royale champion of 2020. We'll be moving on to our grand final. Airsurfer in Line playing for that honor. Yeah, absolutely, and this is going to be a crazy grand final. Airsurfer versus Line. East versus West. USA versus South Korea grand final in the No Tilt World Championship. And this was the first matchup where
Line just had it pretty well locked down on both sides. You see the white flag version of the rocket being sent out by Paradox, knowing that Line just had the minor wall breakers completely locked down with the bomb tower and the Valkyrie. And then on to game number 2, where Line goes with minor P.E.K.K.A. Poison, and this is the one where Paradox was able to get himself back on the board and even things up in game number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. As the Poison's down, Poison just chipped away, but it just was not enough for the rocket of Paradox.
Very close one sets us up for our game number 3. And I'm wondering if this is the one where I wanted to see the replay on it, 3.0 Expo. And this is where that balloon, that we had a balloon before that one, get past the Tesla, and that second balloon forcing out the fireball. So you have 2 balloons really ruining things for Line there. And this nearly, if this game, this would have been the game we would have looked back on as the one that won the match for Paradox, had it not turned the way it did in game number 5. Game number 4, early tower down on the right-hand side, and from that point on, Line just had complete control of game number 4, setting himself up for a game 5 matchup, and what a matchup it was for the South Korean.
Yeah, absolutely, and just like that, just absolutely dominated game 4. Pretty much just was a complete beatdown from Line. And then game 5, we all saw what happened. Just a really good deck selection there from Line, and was able to just clear out Paradox with the Expos.
Ice Bow. Yeah, Ice Rocket. And look, Line danced on this one a little bit. Pulled off some fancy moves, some fancy NATO work. And then, of course, a little bit of braggadocio there at the end when he knew he had it all done. Popping out the number 1 emote, polishing off the trophy as he sends the rocket away and punches his ticket to the final.
And there it is. That's going to be our final contestant for the No Tilt World Championship Grand Finals. Airsurfer versus Line is going to be our remaining 2 players in the No Tilt World Championship. And Rich, it's been a crazy day of matches. It's been a crazy month of, let's just say, stage 2, stage 3, and now stage 4, and now just 2 players remain. And who do you got your money on, Rich?
I mean, I have to support my countrymen. The guy I've been watching from CRL back into his days with TSM in the first season of CRL NA. I have to go with Airsurfer. Line's a phenomenal player. I gotta back my boy, though. I gotta back my countryman. And then you add in the great analysis that he has in his corner. I have to say, my pick is going to be Airsurfer in 4 or 5 games. That's what I'm picking here for this last one.
All right. Not bad. You heard it here. Airsurfer in 4 to 5. 4 to 5. It's a bold prediction. But all right, 4 to 5. Airsurfer in 4 to 5. That's what's going to happen. For me, I am the most unbiased person you are ever going to meet. So I am not going to make a prediction on this. I never make predictions.
Check his Twitter, folks. Check his Twitter. Check this man's receipts.
Don't call me out like that, Rich. It's deleted already.
Oh boy, guys, we made it here. From millions of players worldwide who tried to push their way through the 20-win challenge. Again, the hardest 20-win challenge by all accounts in the history of that event. Well, just over 3,000 made it to stage 2, played through the most insane of brackets, especially on the Western side where participation was insanely high. Had to go through 8 or 9 best of 3s just to get to those stage 2 semifinals and get onto that next stage. And then from there, moving on to try to get through the craziness that was the group stage. Stage 3, the round robin. Top tier players on both sides. And now here we are, down to the final 2. Best of 5 for this World Championship. Airsurfer and Line. Here we go.
Hey, airsurfer the American versus Line the Korean, who is going to become the world champion. Last world championship, we had a United States versus Mexico when Sergio Ramos versus Music Master in 2017. Once again, the USA makes it to the grand finals. Can they change the script this time? We are about to find out. Game 1 of the grand final.
And look at that, airsurfer banning Expo. Fascinating ban from the American. Bar putt also banned, so we will not be seeing this game get slowed all the way down to a snail's pace.
All right. Skeleton barrel. Ooh, okay. E-Wizard is going to be the answer for the barrels here, as we have a musketeer and a mortar coming out here. All right, so this is this cheeky mortar deck. Really quick cycle.
Yeah,
I believe it lost today, correct?
Did we see Mortar Skeleton Barrel earlier today? It's been such a journey so far.
I'm not sure 100%. I think Benzer Ridel may have used it and lost with it. There's been a lot of matches today.
This has been a fairly popular mortar variant as of late. And of course, looking like it's going to be Royal Giant out of line. Bold prediction here from Slayton after seeing 7 cards.
All right. I'm loving the fact that there is no bar putt in this grand finals. It's going to make it so much... I wouldn't say so much more of a... I'm going to say it. It's going to be more of an enjoyable viewing experience because the games aren't going to be as...
Yeah, I personally like a meta where spawners are a little bit weaker. I think it's good for the game overall. And right now, other than Barb Hut, spawners are not crazy popular at this point.
All right, here we go. Knight on the right-hand side, and we see the RG deck from line. Usually whenever you see a fisherman and a hunter, it's usually followed by an RG. Sometimes it's hogs.
And there you go, Royal Giant low. As we go into double elixir time. A lot of single target damage here for airsurfer. No specific tank killer.
And that's going to be a big problem now as another RG is cycled all the way in the back here for line. E-Wizard and Fisherman just trying to get as much value as possible. Skeleton. Arrow perfectly played right there by line. All right, this is going to come down to can line survive for another 60 seconds and then get a double RG huge connection on airsurfer's tower. That's the only way I see him winning here, and he's got to survive another 60 seconds. He can't really take any more damage on his tower.
He needs to stop letting the skeleton barrel get drop damage. That's been the big problem here. And that's a nice little log fireball cycle.
Just a little chip here, a little chip there, Rich. That's just what the name of the game is right now for airsurfer.
And airsurfer's got this one in pretty solid control. 90 seconds left. We'll see if Line tries to get an RG stack here or not.
Yeah, I'm assuming an RG is going to be played in the back all the way. There it is.
And does he worry about stopping death damage here? Yes, he does. Drop damage does not come in, but Fireball gets rid of that Hunter.
Like you just mentioned, Rich, it's going to be all about the double RG stack here for Line. Can this do enough damage? That's the question. Fireball comes in. Fireball doesn't hit the Knight, though.
Yeah, it seems like a couple little weird plays from Line. The Heal Spirit going off into no man's land. Not supporting the push on that one.
RG right-hand lane, but it might just be too little too late.
It really certainly feels that way. 280 on the right-hand side. RG does get one shot. Second RG down here at the bridge. Fisherman trying to help out.
Opportunity.
2:08 on that right-hand side. Final 15 seconds.
Late heel spirit there, and it's over, Rich. Unfortunately, one more log will end it. Airsurfer picking up game number 1. Line, it looked like, kind of in that game, just didn't really know what he wanted to do for a good, like, 20 seconds there. The heel spirit kind of just went away for no reason. It kind of just went to the left-hand side. And I feel like Airsurfer just was in complete control all game, just slowly chipping down the tower. And that's going to be game 1 for Airsurfer.
All the way locked down for the American in game number 1. The most popular archetype in the game right now, RG Fisherman Hunter. Not working out for Line in the first one. We'll see if he makes some sort of switch up or stays with this or goes with a different variant. What will Line do in game number 2? Remember, Barb Hut and Expo both banned. So you won't be seeing either one go to Expo. We've seen before. And of course, Barb Hut does open up lanes for decks like this Royal Giant one a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Airsurfer was just like, you want to know what? The Barb Hut is out. Let's play a building still that, you know, has some pressure. Mortar was the right choice. It shuts down, you know, these RG cycle decks. And that's just a great pick from Airsurfer right there with the Barb Hut ban coming in from Line.
Game number 2, current advantage going to the American, up by 1. We'll see if he can hold on.
Musketeer onto the left-hand side here. Gonna get Fireball down.
Skeleton Dragons do feel like they're in a pretty okay place right now. Still viable in the meta, but not everywhere all the time in every deck.
Not wrong about that, as the Piglets get a little bit of damage, and the King Tower gets activated. Line activating his King Tower, only taking 500 damage. You know, sometimes, you know, it's okay to take about 500 damage as long as you activate your King Tower right away.
Yeah, it's really one of those balancing acts where you have to decide, how much value do I get out of the King Tower activation? Right? There are certain decks that don't care about activating King Tower that much. It's not really much of a concern for them. And you think like, okay, certain cards, King Tower activation makes a big difference. An unresponded to Hog gets 7 hits on a Princess Tower with no activation, only 4 with King Tower activation.
Here it is, Fisherman and the big giant combination coming out onto the right-hand lane here. Mega Knight. Fisherman not sitting into this poison. A little bit of a misplay there from Airsurfer.
So far, not much in for the South Korean here in game 2.
Airsurfer just controlling this matchup very, very slowly. Got to figure out a way to get a giant connecting to the tower. Miner's just going for a little bit of chip damage. Bandit. Could be good on the counterattack here. Could be split hogs once again. Let's see how he wants to play this. Poison instead.
And Barbarian Barrel trying to protect and see the Hell Spirit as well. So everything to protect that Musketeer and keep it from getting pulled back in time. Good support there from Airsurfer on that Musketeer on defense.
Yeah, Muskie onto the left-hand side here. Here comes the Piglets on the right-hand lane. Fireball's going to come out. Bandit, though, get pulled away by the Fisherman and the Heel Spirit to the middle. Close matchup, 1760 versus 1834.
Musketeer chipping away at the Giant left-hand side, 1669 on the right-hand lane. Here we are, sudden death overtime.
Every little bit of damage matters. Heel Spirit with the Piglets. Heel Spirit not going to get Fireball down here.
And what a great Fisherman from Line to prevent a lot of extra damage on that right-hand side. Fisherman has been the MVP so far in this game for Line. Of course, Airsurfer's been focusing everything on stopping it from creating the offensive value, but that was a big defensive Fisherman.
Another fireball comes in right-hand lane here, and the Heal Spirit finally gets through for airsurfer. And I'm just curious, Rich, is he holding his fireball for what? I mean, I understand the Fisherman was down. He didn't have enough elixir to play the Fisherman fireball combo again. He misses the Heal Spirit, and he knew the Heal Spirit was going to be played with the pigs there. Very interesting play right there from Line.
Yeah, I mean, it might have just been a situation where he didn't have what he wanted or decided that he could just absorb that shot and set up a big push like we're seeing now on the left-hand side. You have the Giant in, have the Fireball in, have the Miner in. You got a min-max on occasion, and this looks like the min might be turning into the max for the South Korean.
Yeah, there it is. Fisherman is going to get to the tower. Fish slap as the tower falls. And Line evens things up 1-1. And yeah, he kind of just said, you want to know what? I'll let the Heal Spirit hit this time. Heal up your pigs. And that's that. And like you said, Rich, sometimes this juice is not worth the squeeze if you're Air Surfer and Line able to take the victory.
Yeah, smart call, knowing how much damage you can really take. And there's sort of a reflex thing. You know, you look at that pig's Heal Spirit push on the right-hand lane, and you feel like you have to stop the Heal Spirit, but Fireball gets in. He knows he's going to take a moderate to low amount of damage from those piglets. Go ahead, set up for the opposite lane, and bank that elixir rather than spending it on defense there. And you saw, able to break through and get the huge tower kill and even this thing up at 1-1.
Yep, and now we're at 1-1. Now things get interesting, Rich. It's not a clean sweep like we've seen all day in the beginning in the quarterfinals. It's going to be a war. I think this is going to come down to Game 5. One game that's going to determine the entire World Championship.
Yeah, I mean, look, I called Air Surfer in 4 or 5. Of course, it could go either way. Just had to give a little support here to the Western player I've seen for so long. Here we go. Air Surfer versus Line, game number 3.
Earthquake down onto the left-hand lane here, so it looks like we might be running possibly a triple spell hog deck for Line as an RG aggressively played here for Air Surfer. And the bomb tower comes in. Fireball does not connect with the bomb tower here, unfortunately.
Crazy aggressive opening, though you will have a one-shot Musketeer going the opposite direction and not going to get anything on tower. Aggressive opening from Air Surfer. Line does have some tools here, looking like he's playing Hog Rider in the opposite direction.
Yeah, so it looks like it's going to be a Hog versus a RG. Unfortunately for Air Surfer there, that Fireball was thrown out pretty early. It's kind of one of those situations where if he did a prediction Fireball on the bomb tower, just did one of those prayers, that would have been a huge connection on the left-hand side.
Would have been absolutely massive, and here we are with the first minute 15 away. So far, no huge shots on either side.
At this stage, you gotta play it. You gotta play it safe. Gotta find the deck out first. Hog Rider, right hand lane. Fireball, Skeleton Dragons, right hand side. Is he gonna bomb tower this? No, he's gonna be able to clear it off in time, and this is gonna be a big push on the left hand lane here.
Yeah,
Two Knights and a Muskie.
No need to clear it out at that stage. So easy dub to hold on to. On the defensive side, we'll see if he can get anything on the offensive side. Knight does get one shot in, 2 shots in. Wow, an almost dead Knight. Huge here for Line.
Yeah, huge panic right there from Air Surfer. He put the Skeletons right next to the Knights instead of trying to kite him a little bit. Cost him 2 shots on his tower. Kind of one of those panic moves right there. Fireball onto the left-hand lane, chipping down everything. Line in control here.
EQ cycle on the left-hand side, 9:40 remaining.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be another Hog for the rest of this game. I mean, I think you just Earthquake cycle of Hog Rider coming in. This might be the last one. It's not going to get any more damage onto the tower, that's for sure. Line knows that, just using it for cycle at this point.
RG does get healed up, but of course Bomb Tower should be available if he wants it. No need. Too much single target DPS. Line holding on here in game number 3, shutting down these Royal Giants over and over again.
Yeah, Hog Rider coming in now with an Earthquake.
Airsurfer needs to try to see if he can do some sort of variation on the next Goblin Cage against that Hog Rider push.
Problem is he's just having to overcommit on every single offensive push because he can just not break through, and Line is just continuing to throw everything onto the left-hand side here.
All right, Heal Spirit should come down behind the RG now that Log is out of cycle. Not going to happen here, holding on. And that's just going to be EQ cycle for the win. Line gets it done, and now 1 win away from the World Championship.
Great gameplay right there from Line. Just had an Airsurfer on his back foot the entire time. You saw that he was just throwing out anything that he could put. The Goblins were the MVP in that match. They just shredded each and every single RG that played. Even a couple of damage before the log came in on them, a couple of stabs from Goblins is just ridiculous damage. And just like that, with the Musketeer, the Knight, and the Goblins, each and every single RG barely was able to connect. 4 RGs were played. And did we even see an RG connection? What, maybe 1 shot onto the tower, Rich?
Yeah, not much getting in there for Airsurfer. And now back to the wall. This is where you earn your money as an analyst. This is where you earn your cut from the guy you're helping out. What do you choose when you're down facing match point elimination against your opponent?
I don't even know what you do right now, Rich. The control decks are mainly right now in the meta with Barb Hut. That's already eliminated. Line did not want any.
He wanted no piece of that at all. And he ends up in a whole lot of trouble here. Game number 4, Airsurfer back against the wall, Line with match point and a chance to win the World Championship.
All right, here we go. Line versus Airsurfer. Game 4. Can Airsurfer bring it back and bring it to a match 5?
Skeleton Dragons split here. Knight in the middle to pick it up. Remember, the bans are the Expo and Bomb Tower. Airsurfer splitting 6-man. Or Expo and not Bomb Tower, Barb Hut. So here we go, seeing 6 Loon at this late stage, going with the Skeleton Dragon variation rather than the Minions variation.
Balloon is going to explode here onto the archers. Both archers do crumble. Recruits get to the tower.
So this is interesting, Enchantin, because Bomb Tower is a solid counter to Balloon, but much more powerful when you have the Snowball. Delivery no longer having the knockback might change this rhythm just a little bit unless Line is running double small spell here.
Yeah, huge Heal Spirit right there. Lumberjack somehow not getting hit by the tower there. Musketeer just walked in front of it just a little bit as Delivery, or Recruits, sorry, are played all the way in the back.
And yeah, Airsurfer just choosing to, you'll probably see him do that pretty consistently here, assuming that he is against a Graveyard Cycle deck here potentially, keeping the 6-man on the board consistently and not giving Line a chance to mount a legitimate offense. Going to be a big key here for the American.
As we have Line trying to ramp up, archers all the way in the back, split, probably anticipating this balloon on the right-hand side here. Let's see if Airsurfer just lets this one go.
Going to go ahead and get some death damage out of it and split 6-man again. That's the Royal Recruits, 3-3. If he can keep the pressure up, as long as Airsurfer adds just maybe, gets that down to close to 1,000 HP before triple elixir, it's a good situation overall for the American.
Yeah, huge Musketeer here on the left-hand side. Does he balloon right? There it is. Balloon on the right-hand lane. No bomb tower in cycle here. This balloon is going to get def damage even if the bomb tower comes down and pulls it.
Bomb tower high, though, instead to pull the balloon back. Sharp heads-up play by Line forces out the snowball on defense. So there you go. Airsurfer splitting the Royal Recruits 3 and 3 one more time, 1392. This is the place he needs to be. One more death damage before triple elixir, and Airsurfer should have this game locked down.
Yeah, Graveyard from Line. Still not being used yet as the win condition. I assume it will be a Graveyard. Archers are starting to ramp up, though. Archers are huge on defense here for Line. Just got to figure out a way to get a nice Graveyard Poison combination on these recruits. Airsurfer does not have a good Graveyard defense. Triple elixir time, it's going to be really hard for him to defend just Graveyard cycling.
Well, the hard part for Line of that situation, though, is that, and it's not, oh man, pigs as well? Bananas, absolute bananas. Airsurfer pulling out the Royal Hogs balloon deck here with his back against the wall. What an interesting variation, and the Musketeer just barely doesn't connect. The hard part here, as I was going to say in chatting for Line, is that whatever defense Airsurfer puts down against the Graveyard, it's hard to poison it out because of the Heal Spirit. And the Graveyard Skeletons do give that Heal Spirit immense value on defense. And it might not even be an issue here as this right-hand tower gets worse and worse with 45 seconds left.
Yeah, 40 seconds left, but now it's Line's turn. Line knows that all he has to do is stop one more assault and then go hard on offense. Can he get there? That is the question. Balloon now onto the left-hand side. You're going to have to drop another bomb tower for this.
Yeah, and Poison not available. This is the name of the game for Airsurfer, is pressure, pressure, pressure. When you're playing this matchup, I mean, this matchup, because Royal Hogs, what the heck's going on? But when you're playing this 6-loon deck up against Graveyard, it's pressure, pressure, pressure. Don't let Graveyards get down in any significant moment. Poison has to be played high, but that's going to be it. GG, well played. Airsurfer got that perfect. Good matchup and played it the exact right way, and we are going to a Game 5 for this final.
Yeah, well played there from Airsurfer. Line just never able to get down Graveyards in this matchup. The pressure just kept on coming out from Airsurfer there. The Piglets continuing once it got to triple elixir time, just creating the pressure that Line knew. If he ever went with the Graveyard push, the Pigs would have taken his tower with a balloon cycle. Airsurfer perfectly played the Lumberjacks, the Royal Recruits, everything he needed to do there, he did, and now it's going to be a Game 5 that's going to determine who is the world champion.
And while we have a chance here, congrats to Razorwolf CR as the winner of the Clash Royale. To the victor go the spoils box giveaway, brought to you by Clash Royale and the No Tilt World Championship. Razorwolf CR gonna get probably a baby dragon, some stickers, a whole bunch of other stuff. So well done, sir, and I hope you enjoy cuddling with that baby dragon on the regular. It's quite plushy.
All right, here we go. Game 5 is about to be upon us. This is going to be close. Line versus Airsurfer. One game determines it all. We've been asking this a lot during the broadcast. What do you do in this situation if you are a player? Do you go for comfort, or do you go for a deck that your opponent is never going to think you are going to play? We're going to find out soon enough what these two players choose as Game 5 is upon us.
Man, I mean, look, I would have thought either one of those things. And you know what I said in this situation in chat? Was I said I'd go with something just out there. And in game number 4, Airsurfer did. He went with 6-loon, the Royal Recruits balloon cycle deck, but then threw Royal Hogs in the mix. He went totally out there. So who knows what he's doing here in game number 5.
Yep. Archers here for Airsurfer. Is Airsurfer running a Graveyard deck? That's the question. Mortar coming down here for Line. So Line is using the Mortar spawner deck here, I guess you could say, with the Spear Goblins and Goblin Gang. Spear Goblins are now down.
Yeah, that same Mortar Skelly Barrel deck that we saw earlier.
I would assume this is a graveyard. It is a graveyard deck for airsurfer. I don't see what other win condition it could be.
GY cycle and big pressure here from line. Knight to pick up with archers in support. This is it. One game for $10,000. Pressure must be immense.
I can only imagine what the pressure is. Playing for this much money on the line. Spear Goblins trying to get a little damage here onto the right. They do. Raphael gets a shot onto the tower.
And look at that. The Mega Minion doesn't quite push towards the cage. Cage a little bit low, but defense will still hold up. And Mortar not going to retarget onto tower as well. So good defense for the American. Line now just trying to protect that Mortar, and now it will get a tower lock late in its life.
1979 remains on to the right-hand side. This is going to be a pretty close game as the Goblin Gang comes down to defend for the Musketeer. Mortar on the left-hand side, but the Goblin Cage will take the aggro.
Yeah, Airsurfer's key here is just to limit early damage here and try to get this to triple where he can get ahead with some big graveyard cycle pressure. Does have a chance to maybe pop a graveyard here just for a little pressure. Might poison instead. Decides to hold off.
Mortar onto the left-hand side here, just trying to get a lock onto the tower. Not going to happen anytime soon, as Airsurfer has a Knight, has a Goblin Cage. Musketeer onto the right-hand lane here for line.
Yeah, Airsurfer has to be really, really careful. One Mortar gets missed during this next minute, and that could change everything. And,
Mortar!
Oh boy, Skeleton gets down. Did the Knight get down in time? And it did. The Knight does hold on to that Mortar lock.
And just like that, he also didn't take that last poison chip, so the log did not kill that archer. Otherwise, that would have been a Mortar lock onto the tower. Any little bit of damage will be the difference in this matchup. Airsurfer is being so patient, waiting for the perfect time to drop a graveyard. There might be one, maybe two graveyards in this game for Airsurfer. He has to make the most out of each and every single one of them.
And now you're going to see this cage coming down repeatedly for the Skeleton Barrel, and does pop the Brawler a little bit early. That actually works out well for Airsurfer here. Knight holding onto the aggro from the Mortar, wants that as much as humanly possible. Snowball to clear out the push on the left-hand side. Final minute, triple elixir coming. 1808 to 1899, $10,000 on the line. Let's go.
As this is as close as a matchup as you are ever going to see in the Clash Royale. Mortar just was not able to connect to the tower there. As another Mortar is cycled, 49 seconds left. Here comes the huge pressure from Line. Line's only objective in this game is to make sure there is not one graveyard from Airsurfer, and if there is, he gets punished for it. Knight gets two connections onto the left-hand side, and Rich, Airsurfer kind of struggling here to get off a graveyard.
Yeah, he's just got to go for one graveyard, because he cannot win this on poison alone, I don't believe. Poison on the Musketeer, Snowball in. Here comes the Fireball, 1842, 22 seconds left. Airsurfer now kind of committed to the right-hand side, but does have a Knight to the left, and there goes the Graveyard. Should have a poison here as well. Graveyard and poison in. Snowball going, not even worried about the Goblin Gang on the right-hand side. Knight comes down late. Can the Graveyard do enough for it? I don't believe it can. Line gonna take the championship here. We have a new Clash Royale World Champion. Line is the king of the game.
And it is over. Airsurfer unfortunately just never was able to get his graveyards down until the last possible second, but just like you said, ignored the Goblin Gang on the right-hand side, and Line is going to be our no-tilt World Championship winner. Congratulations, as we have a new world champion by the name of Line.
Unbelievable. What a journey to get here. Stage 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to win so much to make it to this point, and that's $14,500 for the South Korean. And I'm telling you right now, airsurfer played a brilliant, brilliant tournament. The USA is looking phenomenal in Clash Royale, but whatever the next World Cup tile event is, between Line, Jupiter King, TNT, Expo Master, South Korea looks insane to try to beat.
That they do. Airsurfer picking up $9,500 for coming in second place. And just fall short. This is now the second time the United States of America finishes in second place in a world championship, as South Korea takes this one. Line played absolutely amazing all day. And just like we saw some clean sweeps in the beginning. Line was able to take down Paradox, and now we are going to watch the replays of how Line wins the no-tilt World Championship.
Yeah, I mean, airsurfer had it pretty well locked down in game number 1, running the deck that we just saw Line secure the championship with. And in this situation, the South Korean really had nothing he could do. The Goblin Gang and the Spear Goblins just clogging it up for the Fisherman, unable to get it going, and then plenty of single-target DPS to get the Royal Giant down. And airsurfer had the advantage in game number 1, but in a day of sweeps, what better than going all the way to game 5 for our championship?
And not only that, Rich, it was one of the best matchups you can have in a game 5 that came down to the wire. One little misplay in that game 5 from either player, and it would have been over, but both players played absolutely amazing in Line, just was able to edge out airsurfer in the end.
Well, this was a big moment from Line where he chose to eat the Royal Hog's Heal Spirit push on the right-hand side. He had been defending, banked that 3 to 4 elixir that he'd been using on defense there, and got the counter lane push. And that was a big swing in his direction, setting himself up to move on in this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you had the Hog Rodder with the Earthquakes. We're able to just take down airsurfer in this match. The Goblins just absolutely destroy. I think the Goblins the highest damage per elixir cost in the game.
I think Skarmy has to be higher, right? The skeleton.
True.
Yeah, Skarmy's insane. Just, Zap City.
Yeah, besides Skarmy, I mean, they just do so much damage. And as you can see, the second to last matchup now, you got some poisons here for Line.
And the Royal Hogs, too. Crazy.
Yeah, airsurfer was able to just win this on just straight pressure, just continuing to throw out the Hogs. The balloons recycled, was able to take game 4 to push it to game 5. But then this was a matchup for the ages.
Yeah, this was a wild one, and you saw airsurfer playing really, really excellent defense throughout most of it, and it felt like triple elixir would be where he had the chance to steal things, but so many different swarm troops able to kind of get stacked, and this graveyard just didn't get it going. And the big factor here, you can see the ability to stagger, stack, and log against that graveyard, and airsurfer probably knew that the whole way. He knew it was going to be, hey, Knight, I'm going to poison some of it off, but things will be behind, and most of that graveyard will get mitigated by a log. Line played it very well. Airsurfer didn't have a lot of chances to pull the trigger, and maybe pulled it a little bit too late there. Good pressure by the South Korean, and now he is the new Clash Royale World Champion.
Yeah, congratulations to Line becoming the new Clash Royale World Champion. I guess we haven't had one in essence since 2017 when Sergio Ramos held that crown, but now we have a new Clash Royale World Champion in Line. Great games today, great gameplay all around, and I gotta hand it to you. A 5-match grand finals is everything you ask for in a tournament.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you hope for. You hope to go all the way down to the end. You hope to see both players taking big-time swings. And, from the way things looked, opening up with 4 clean sweeps, opening up with almost 5 clean sweeps, it felt like today was going to be a day of blowouts. But the last semifinal and our finals did not disappoint at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. it was one of those things where you looked at me, I looked at you, and we were just like, we just had 12 games out of a possible. The lowest amount we could have had was 12 in the quarterfinals. 4 clean sweeps, but then it started to ramp up. The game started to get better and better as it got closer to the grand finals. A 5-game grand final, and Line just edging out Airsurfer to take and become the new world champion.
Yeah, I mean, again, the road to get here is so difficult. And, talking about how hard it was and some of the biggest names falling out during stage 2, not able to make it to stage 3, what we got in the end were 2 absolutely world-class players. We got Airsurfer, who's one of the best to ever play in the global tournament, who's been phenomenal throughout his career, a longtime CRL veteran. And then you have Line, who is quietly one of the top players in CRL East. This is exactly what you hope for in a world championship.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is going to be it for the No Tilt World Championship. I look forward to seeing you commentate CRL West, Rich. And until then, you got any words for everybody?
Guys, this has been an amazing tournament. This is a great year for Clash Royale esports, whether you're a pro, a semi-pro, an amateur looking to break in. There are so many cool opportunities. Get out there and play yourself. And don't forget, of course, to subscribe here to the No Tilt YouTube page to see more great pro and semi-pro action. And I guess I'll sign us off here for enchanting for everyone at Clash Royale and at the No Tilt World Championship. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you back here really soon.